One eye stared into the blazing, three-sided pinwheel of Naruto's Manjikyu Sharingan, and he instantly closed his eyes out of reflex. He had not forgotten his previous encounter with Naruto's Tsukuyomi and was not ready to face it again. He groaned as he forced his weary bones and muscles to force themselves back to his feet. "I don't believe that was necessary, Naruto-kun." Danzo spoke, his voice gravelly and dangerous. The kunai slid down Naruto's sleeve and into his open hand, and he clenched it tightly, ready to ram it in Danzo's throat if he proved to be dangerous. "Naruto, calm down." Jiraiya's voice boomed loudly, and Naruto immediately slid the kunai back up into his sleeve and gave Godim a wary look. "With all due respect, Danzo hired some Anbu to gouge out my eyes when I was 9, forgive me if I'm a bit wary of the old bastard." Naruto spoke as levelly as he could. Despite the anger that was boiling deep within his gut, despite the fact that Kyuubi was demanding Danzo's head on a plate, Naruto calmed down. "I understand, Naruto. Here's the situation though, the daimyo of Hai no Kuni released Danzo back into society. Apparently this shinobi relic has some political connection and ties that if lost, could hinder Konoha's powerhouse abilities. So, in order to prevent that, he released Danzo and pardoned him for his crimes." Jiraiya explained. "You're telling me that he gets pardoned for staging the massacre of the Uchiha clan, hires his Nagoons to gouge out my eyes, and because he sucked a lot of and has connections, it's okay?" Naruto growled out, his voice raising a timbre as his whiskers darkened and his eyes turned dark blue with black slits. Uchiha Sasuke was not faring any better, his fist clenched in anger, his Manjikyu variant blazing to life. Here was the man responsible for the deaths of his parents, his entire clan and Itachi's betrayal. He tried to keep his killer intent under control, but his chakra spiked, surging around him in a blaze of blue. "Sasuke." Kakashi snapped at him, but Sasuke ignored him. Sasuke looked at Danzo and gave him a lopsided grin. "You will pay for the blood that stains your hands. Even if the daimyo pardons you, Danzo, neither I nor the Uchiha you murdered will ever, and you will pay, in this life or the next." Sasuke spoke. "You will do to remember that you too could die just as well as your clan did, Sasuke." Danzo warned, his tone biting and stinging. There was a silent pause, a relapse in time almost as the room got eerily quiet. They stood there in disbelief that Danzo could go that far in front of the Vera Hokage. Danzo screamed and blood tainted the air, splashing coolly against Sasuke's face. There was a small, shallow cut on Danzo's neck, opposite of where the jugular was. Even Naruto hadn't seen Sasuke move. "You will do well to remember that just as easily as you ordered Itachi to murder the clan, I could easily kill you, maim you and what's left of your family. I've done my research. You have a granddaughter, Hitomi, right? I wonder if she'd like a big, fat Uchiha in her mouth. I wouldn't, then I couldn't hear her scream." And with that, Sasuke vanished in a swirl of blue, as if he'd never been there at all. "I advise you to take heed to the warning, Danzo-chan. We're best friends, and we do everything together." Naruto growled out, leaking some yokai in the process. "Uzumaki, perhaps you will do better in explaining to Sasuke that I am no one to be trifled with, you should know from first-hand experience." Danzo retorted, allowing a cruel smirk to light up his face. Naruto returned the smirk. "Perhaps. I wonder if Hitomi-chan's a squealer, it's no fun unless they squeal. Or what about your daughter, would she still be pretty if I shoved a Chidori down her throat?" At that point, Danzo gave up, seething and livid, and walked out of the Hokage's office. Naruto turned his attention back to the Hokage and Kakashi's sweat dropped. "Naruto, don't you think that maybe it was a bit excessive?" Kakashi asked. "No." Naruto clipped out. Jiraiya took a long, hard look at the boy his student fathered. Besides their looks, they were nothing alike. Minato would not resort to cheap, vile tactics to harm another. "Naruto, you and Kiba are dismissed. Take the next week off and don't let me hear about you coming near Hitomi. I'll strip you of your rank and throw you immediately into the brig. Are we understood?" Jiraiya asked. "No. We're not. Perhaps it might be easy for you to make orders from behind your cushy office, Iro Sennin, but from my perspective, it's not easy to follow them. I'll stay away from Danzo and his family for now, but I will have my revenge when I'm strong enough and no one will stop me. Not even Yao Hokage-sama." Naruto shot back and stormed off, disappearing in a crackle of lightning. "Odd, that kid's going to be real trouble. We need to find a way for him to submit to us. I want to help him and show him that everyone in Konoha's not bad, Kakashi, but it's going to be a rough ride." Jiraiya spoke, clasping his hands together. "I'm sorry I couldn't have been there for him sooner, Jiraiya-sama. But hopefully we can change him. But what are we going to do about Yujiro-san over here? You were informed of Naruto's upbringing and how he forms some sort of link to her, she has to stay here. Yet if we keep her and instate her as a shinobi of Konoha, there could be two problems with it." Kakashi said grimly. "What problems?" Jiraiya asked. "First, Kumo might retaliate and start a war. And we don't really want that with the Chunin exams coming up. Second is that if Konoha's populace is revealed that Yujito here is the vessel for the Nibi, they might treat her like Naruto, but unlike Naruto, she was not raised here and would have no problem destroying the village in the Nibi's wake. Kakashi replied, though Yujito interjected before Jiraiya could speak. I'm not as emotionally unstable as Naruto, so I won't attack the populace unless directly attacked. 2. Why even inform them about it, we should just keep it quiet. 3. I'm not going to be used as some weapon for people like Danzo. Yujito snarled, looking over at where Danzo had stood and leaking some killer intent. I saw Naruto's memories and because of it I want to kill him myself, but I will not deny Naruto that pleasure. Yujito finished, closing her eyes and hoping that Jiraiya wouldn't kill her for her outburst. That sounds reasonable. I will make a decree that anyone revealing the fact that Yujito is a to anyone that doesn't already know is grounds for immediate execution by the Godame. Jiraiya declared in a large booming voice. Kiba nodded and Akamaru whined pitifully, though to say that Kiba wasn't quaking in his boots would have been false. As for Kumo, they have been previously warned. When the Shodai so retardedly handed out the Bijuu to the other nations, there was a decree that if the village used any of their in an unprovoked attack against Konoha and they were captured, Konoha could confiscate their Bijuu and not return it. They attacked, and now we're keeping her. Jiraiya ran through a set of hand seals before slamming his hand on his desk. No. You summoned me, Jiraiya. A small voice squeaked out, and once the smoke cleared, there was a small yellow and blue toad sitting on Jiraiya's desk. Yes, I did, Gamarado, I have a favor to request. Jiraiya spoke to it, pulling out a box of Pocky from one of the drawers. The toad's eyes burned bright with the flame of youth. What Jiraiya do you need, Jiraiya? I need you to send this message to the Raikage as fast as you can and get the hell out of Dodge before they kill you. Jiraiya said, before handing the toad the Pocky and a message that it swallowed in his mouth. Then the toad disappeared faster than the human eye could follow. That fast, little bastard. Jiraiya spoke, smiling. So I'm officially a Leaf Nin now? Yujito asked with a tone of resignation. Jiraiya nodded, walking to the Hokage closet and pulling out a green vest. You are officially a Konoha now. Please Yujito, all we ask is that you serve Konoha dutifully and act solely in its interests. I also ask that you make the best out of the bond with Naruto and befriend him and hopefully change his opinion on life. Show my godson that life is worth living, Yujito. Yujito pursed her lips. Am I bound to him? She asked. I'm not asking you to sleep with him, merely for you to befriend him. Whatever happens down the road is between the two of you. Jiraiya asked. Yujito, situate yourself here in Konoha and return to this office in 2 weeks and we'll start assigning you missions. Same with you Kakashi and Kiba. Now go. Jiraiya ordered. The 3 shinobi disappeared, leaving Jiraiya in his office alone. Things are going to get bad. I just wish you were here, Haim. Banishing all thoughts of the beautiful buxom blonde, Jiraiya pondered what to do with Naruto. Naruto's lips were pursed in an angry line, marring the boy's handsome features. That bastard Danzo. Naruto thought to himself. Walking the narrow hallway, leading away from the Hokage's office, Naruto didn't really know what to think of the new Hokage. Jiraiya, the perverted buffoon head Mada Hokage, perhaps they just gave the title out nowadays to any unqualified jackass. Ino was waiting for him at the end, dressed in her usual violet setup. Hey, Naruto-kun. She spoke, an easygoing smile on her face. Hovering up his emotions for the sake of the fragile girl, Naruto forced his lips to curve in a wide smile. Ino-chan, you look nah. Naruto whispered as he wrapped his arm around her, pulling her flush to him. She giggled with delight and pressed her thigh against the junction between his legs. I missed you. She admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Me too, Ino. I thought I was going to die and never see you again. Naruto confessed, before capturing her lips with his own and giving her a chaste kiss. Let's get some food, I'm tired of eating all the berries and fruit we ate on the way up. I could use a bit of ramen. Naruto offered, before sliding his arm around her neck and walking away, missing the very jealous look Yujito shot at them. The two headed down to Ichiraku's and ate a few bowls of ramen in silence, neither of them willing to start the conversation and instead indulged in the awkward silence. What happened on your mission? The Hokage was freaking out and everything. Ino finally asked, breaking the weird tension. Naruto was silent for a second. I learned a lot of things I wasn't willing to admit before. He finally admitted, before lowering his head to get a mouthful of the rich noodles. Like what? Enlighten me. Ino begged, scooting her chair closer to her boyfriend. Which he wasn't, Naruto himself had made that very clear to her. I'm weak. Naruto spoke, looking at Ino with sorrowful cerulean eyes. I thought I was powerful, and I almost got myself and Sasuke killed. I was too dependent on my Sharingan, and if it weren't for the Sharingan, I'd be dead right now. Naruto confessed, bowing his head down as the memories of Nami flooded his mind. You're not weak, Naruto. Ino spoke, placing a kiss on his cheek. You're the strongest guy I know, beside Shukage-sama. It's part of the reason I love you. You weren't there, you wouldn't know. I released some of the Kyuubi, not once, but twice. I'm the supposed son of Yondaime, and yet, I'm so weak, it was pathetic. Naruto snapped, glowering at her. Yes, I killed 2 A-ranked, both tired from previous battles, and captured a Kunoichi from Kumo. But I nearly died 3 times because I was overcome by anger, completely disregarding shinobi rule number 25. Naruto, it was your first C-rank turned A-ranked mission. You're genin for a reason, so you can sit here and bitch about how poorly you did out there, but had it been anyone else, any other genin from Konoha, that person would have been dead. So shut up, finish your ramen and take me out for a walk. Ino shot back, returning the scowl. Naruto pondered over her words for a second. You don't get it. I killed 2 people, Zabuza, I killed him to test the capacity of my own power, and Haku, I killed him out of anger. That's what a monster would do, that's what the Kyuubi would do. He snarled, getting the attention of Tuichi, the owner of the ramen stand. Calm down Naruto. He ordered. You'll scare off potential customers. Naruto bowed his head. Hi. Gomen. Laying down a bit of you on the counter, he looked at Ino. Sorry to ruin our date Ino. Look, this should cover our lunches, but I need some time for myself. Naruto bit out before disappearing away in a crack of lightning. Naruto disappeared, reappearing on Yondaime's head as he contemplated things. He could be a bloody bastard sometimes and he knew it. He couldn't help it, since the attack that had left him blind, he had put up barriers around himself to let no one in and hurt him, and when people got close he lashed out. Even Sasuke, his best friend, one of the few people Naruto would die to protect, had a rough time getting through to Naruto. Kakashi, the Sandaime, even Ino, he couldn't help but resort to lashing out whenever they got too close. Kakashi and Ino didn't deserve it though, they never had betrayed him from day one. Kakashi was doing everything he could to make it up to Naruto for the last 12 years, and Naruto had been unwilling to look at his sensei as his. Despite Kakashi's valiant efforts, even having taught Naruto his original, most prized, Naruto couldn't help but brush it off as insignificant. And poor Ino. The girl loved him and he didn't share the same love that she held for him. He loved her as a close friend, but beyond that, it was hard to muster up courage to feel any more than just that. She was attractive enough, hell, she was the hottest girl he knew, even hotter than Yujiro, and she fought valiantly to win his heart over, but to Naruto, her affections were nothing more than fangirlish feelings, seemingly there 1 second and gone the next. He really couldn't take her seriously. After all, he was a week away from turning 13, he had no substance to the definition of what an amorous love should be. How the hell could she? Then there was the situation with Danzo. Naruto knew that he was not strong enough to take the root letter out and get away scotch-free. He of course was bluffing when he threatened to rape Danzo's granddaughter and kill his daughter, but the bloody coot had the galls to threaten him and Sasuke. For that, Naruto would shove a Chidori in his face until the skin sizzled, until his nerves and muscles jarred away. His eyeballs would pop and leak, and then as Danzo breathed his last, would Naruto be free. Free of the burden and hatred life had bestowed on the young child. Children should not hate nor be hated as he was. Yet he was. Because of Danzo, he had a vague, horrific childhood. Solely in his death the chains of Olympus would be lifted, and then the suffering Naruto was put through would be justified. But he'd wait. Until then. Death. His art, his job, his sworn loyalty to his village ensured that he'd deal a lot of it. Alone, he was. Tears streamed down his cheeks as his stomach threatened to revolt in disgust. The lone man of Team 7, Inyazuka Kiba laid there in bed, hiding away from everyone and everything as his brain finally digested his actions of what he'd done in Nami. His claws, his fangs cutting, tearing through flesh and blood splashed against his face. His doing. He was killed. It was bad enough that his teammates didn't really notice him. He was Inyazuka Kiba after all, rambunctious and outgoing, and to be completely ignored by Naruto and Sasuke was a harsh blow to his ego. Did they think so little of him? Was he so weak in comparison to the 2 Sharingan users that they refused to look at him as an equal, let alone a comrade? Akamaru was sound asleep, no one there to tell him it would be alright. Throughout the trip back, the very shock of what he'd done had forced his mind to hide it, stow it away in the recesses of his mind, so he wouldn't be forced to relive what he'd done. On the trip back to Konoha he had mustered a smile and all the enthusiasm that he could to bear and forget. But once he locked himself from everybody, from his family, where no one could watch him, the memories came, hauntingly strong, and he cried. He cried because he had been killed and because unless he gave up being a shinobi, he would have to do it again and again. His family barely saw him once he returned, he had run up and hid away from them for the last 2 days, and he hadn't searched for his own team, he didn't want to see the stuck-up pricks either. Alone in his thoughts, he barely caught the loud knocking on his door. Go away. Kiba ordered, snarling. It's me, Kakashi-sensei. The voice of the aloof, spiky-haired ninja called out. Standing up to his feet, he wiped away his tears from his eyes. Splashing some water on his splotchy face, he dried it off and walked up to his bedroom door and opened it. Kakashi stood there, his eyes crinkling into that weird eye smile that seemingly only Kakashi could do. Yes, sensei. Kiba croaked, his voice cracking. Just came to check up on you, kid. Suum-san notified me that you've been hiding away up here crying for the last 2 days, so I wanted to see if you're alright. Kakashi admitted, placing his hand on the boy's shoulder. I wasn't crying. Kiba grumbled under his breath. What's wrong, kiddo? Kakashi asked, releasing the boy's shoulder. Kiba didn't really have any male role models. His father had left when he was 2, chased away by his tomboyish mother, and it honestly surprised Kiba that he didn't become a bloody poofter with all the vagina in the house. I don't know. Killing all those guys hadn't bothered me until now. I feel like a monster, I took all their lives as if they were insignificant. What if they had families just like us? And now they'll never go home because I killed them. These last 2 days I've reflected on it and I don't want to kill. Not anymore, and if it means quitting as a ninja, then I'm fully prepared for the consequences, but I can't do this. Kiba. Kakashi's voice interrupted him, soft but commanding. Perhaps I'm not the best person to tell you how to accept death. I walked in on my dad committing seppuku when I was 5, and afterwards, life wasn't the same. But in all my times of being a shinobi, there's one thing I realized. There was a pregnant pause. It's that we're heroes. Kakashi finished. How? Kiba demanded, we kill people, all out of sworn loyalty to a village, how are we heroes? Because we do what others can't. You're right, some of our missions aren't the greatest and at times morally questionable. But we shinobi exist for one reason, to spare others from living our lives. If all the civilians rebelled and refused to become shinobi, who would fight our wars? Regular Joes would be forced to become shinobi by means of militia control, but because we exist, we spare them that pain. Taking life hurts at times. But you're a hero because you spare someone else from doing it, so in a sense, they cancel each other out. Sensei. Kiba whispered, his eyes streaming with tears. Some people aren't meant to live this life that we partake in. But because you fight our village's battle alongside Laikai, those people don't have to fight. Take pride in the fact that you spared someone else from killing those people in Nami. And you shouldn't feel ashamed for crying, you took someone's life, true, but the fact that you sit here crying about only proves how human you are. Only a monster could kill and not be touched by it. Kakashi explained, placing his hand on the top of the boy's head. So I'm not a monster, I don't want to become someone like Naruto or Sasuke. Kiba admitted. They aren't monsters. They're the product of the village's misguided hatred. Naruto was hated by all because he was the only thing they could blame for the Kyuubi's attack, and in that hatred, Naruto's become what he is now. But even then, he hurts, he cries, he feels Kiba. Naruto is far from a monster, he's just an angsty monster that never had the chance to be a child. While you played with your dogs, he was treated like one. Sasuke on the other hand, had to watch his entire family massacred by his older brother, only to find out that a faction in his very own village ordered the execution, so he naturally distrusts the village as a whole, despite the fact that he defends it with utmost care. Kakashi said. They're both stuck-up assholes. Kiba shot back, and Kakashi ruffled his hair in an irritating manner. Kiba, how many times have you sought them out and tried to be friendly without insulting them? Perhaps they view you as the asshole. Kakashi spoke softly, lost in his own thoughts. Just remember this, you're a hero Kiba-kun, never let anyone tell you differently. Kakashi reminded him, before releasing the boy and heading out of the room. Thank you sensei. Kiba whispered after the man left. Thank you. Rock Lee took off in a burst of speed, flying across the earth faster than anyone could see, seemingly vanishing in a cloud of dirt and an explosion of chakra. A few Iwanin had attacked them on the way back to the village, and Team 4 struggled against them. The group was using some sort of Doton defense shield that made their flesh rock hard. Tenten's weapons were ineffective, and the long-ranged user could only beat the troops back with her bow staff. Niji was having the fight of his life as well. By Akugan on, he scanned the enemies for a weak side to their defense and found none, not to mention his Jayuken was completely ineffective, unable to penetrate the rock-hard defense to shut down their chakra systems. Kurenai was parrying against their commander, but even her strongest were barely phasing him. She swore, we just might have to retreat. Kurenai yelled, attempting to warn her comrades. You're not going anywhere little lady, you and that other girl will watch the other 2 buffoons die and then we're gonna put those mouths to good use. The leader, Takanawa Izumi shot back before placing a well-timed kick to her sternum, nearly cracking it with sheer force. Not while I'm alive. Lee yelled, reappearing in front of Izumi in midair before his foot was encompassed in a blaze of chakra, thoroughly decapitating the Iwa commander. Not stopping there, he spun around and rushed towards Tenten, leaping in the air and bringing his fist down on the next Iwa shinobi, caving a hole in their skull. Tenten gave him an appreciative smile, but he didn't have time to linger, pivoting on his foot to launch a trio of kunai against Niji's attackers. They bounced off harmlessly, but it was just a ruse to momentarily distract them as they sprinted towards Niji, pushing him away from the katana that was about to skewer him. Clasping the sides of the blade between his hands, his foot shot out and slammed into the nun's knee, snapping his leg with Lee's renowned strength, disrupting his rock shield for a split second, enough time for Lee to bury a kunai in the attacker's forehead. The attacker's comrade was about to move when Lee leaped in the air and gave him a spinning heel kick to his neck, snapping it with ease. It went downhill for the Iwanin after that. After the battle, they laid out on the grass, with Kurenai standing watch as they tried to recoup and recover. Niji was silent and stoic, though more than usual. "Thank you for your help, Lee," Tenten said, before reaching over and giving the black-clad shinobi a kiss on his cheek. "It was nothing. I'd gladly lay my life down to protect all of you, even you, my rival Hyuga Niji." Rock Lee spoke with such conviction, it touched the seasoned veteran Yuhi Kurenai. "Lee, don't ever listen to anyone if they say you're worthless and unfit to be a ninja. If it weren't for you, we'd all be dead right now, you saved us all from death and things worse than it," Kurenai said, giving the 14-year-old genin a small smile. "Any insults to my personal self are discarded and only motivate me to train that much harder, sensei. Had it not been for you being a superb jounin sensei, I would not be where I'm at. Instead of thanking me, thank yourself for being our sensei and push me to become better," Lee said, returning the smile, before losing himself in his own thoughts. "Thank you, Lee, you truly are a magnificent ninja as well as a great student." She was cut off by an irate Niji. It's about time he picked his fair share of the load. Since we've been on the team he's been nothing but useless emotional baggage. Even Tenten, weak as she is a hell of a lot more useful than he is. Before Kurenai could open up her mouth to defend him, Lee beat her to him. "I'd rather be a slave to my emotions than a slave to fate, Ninigi-kun," Lee asked, brushing aside the pang in his chest. "I did start off as a weak useless shinobi. One with no aptitude for ninjutsu or jinjutsu, but I, said slave to my emotions, trained fervently to become as strong as I could while encouraging my teammates and sensei to better themselves. You, said slave to fate, have always had talent and a powerful bloodline to aid you while discouraging your teammates with harsh words. Stronger you might be, Niji-kun, but I am better than you, and even if my way is harder and harsh, I will endure it just to prove that I truly am better than you in any way. Fate has already revealed its cards, Lee-kun. I am the strongest genin in Konoha, and no matter how hard you train, fate does not bend to your whims." Niji shot back scathingly. "Perhaps, but sleep tonight knowing this. If it weren't for me, Rock Lee, fate would not have spared you. You'd be nothing more than a rotting, eyeless corpse. Sleep tight, Niji." Rock Lee replied calmly before laying back and succumbing to the darkness. 995. 996. 997. 998. 999. 1000. Sakura stood up to her feet, her body soaked with sweat as she finished her round of push-ups. Her biceps and triceps were sore as hell, but she could feel the definitions of muscle hidden veiled behind her flesh. Her legs were sore from running and squats. Anko was not an easy sensei, but she was effective. Sakura and Hinata were stronger than they'd ever been if they were taught by another sensei. Sadly, the scandalously clad was rubbing off on them more than they felt comfortable. Hinata was more outgoing and had a mouth on her as well. No longer the pushover that Hiashi had come to know, Hiashi now reinstated her as clan head, once realizing her true worth. Sakura could tell her still developing teenage mind corrupted as she thought perverted thoughts that she had never thought before of Sasuke. Brushing off the thoughts, she walked up to her sensei, an odd question had been lingering in her mind during training and wanted out. "Anko-sensei, I had a question," Sakura stated, nearly backing up as Anko's eyebrows rose in annoyance. "That was never a good thing." "What do you want, Sakura-chan?" Anko said, causing Sakura to bristle. "Why do you train to become stronger?" Anko pondered it for a second before her eyes narrowed, causing Sakura to get nervous. "To prove my worth. Once a long time ago, I was the apprentice to a rogue. He was everything to me, but he discarded me as trash, claiming I wasn't strong enough. So I train to prove my worth to him and this village. I don't regret what I've done, but when it's all said and done, I want to look him in the eye and make him regret tossing me aside. I don't ever want to join him in his perversion of the ninja world again, but I want him to know that I could have helped him had he not discarded me. Because of my apprenticeship, this village holds a grudge on me, like your friend Naruto. So I also train to make them realize, just like he, that I'm of worth. That the things I've done were out of my control, that like Naruto, I had no fault. So I'll become stronger until I am acknowledged." Anko finished. "But Naruto was guilty, he killed my father." Sakura snapped, instantly regretting it. "In self-defense. If you walked in on your father about to kill your mother for no reason and it was her life or his, who would you pick? If you do nothing, your mother dies, if you do, your father dies. Could you pick to let your mother die?" Naruto went through the same, your father tried to kill him because he too like many of these ignorant villagers view him as something he had no control over and it came down to Naruto's life or your father's, it had nothing to do with you. Taking her sensei's words to heart, Sakura walked away from the training, no longer burning with the unquenchable hatred that burned for her to kill Uzumaki Naruto. Stepping into her and her mother's flat, she called out, "Afternoon, Ka-chan." Taking off her shinobi sandals and brushing them aside, she tiptoed to the kitchen to see if her mother was cooking. Her mother was in the kitchen, cooking dango. "Afternoon, Sakura-chan." Her mother waved politely. "How was training?" she asked, walking up to her daughter to give her a hug. "Usually, I busted my ass out there training and sensei gave me an important lesson on getting stronger." Sakura responded, flexing her sore arms. "And what was that?" Haruno Megumi asked, crossing her arms. She particularly did not like Sakura's sensei, almost as much as that demon boy that took her husband from her. That power gained from revenge is meaningless. For one to be strong, one has to train to better oneself and to have a positive goal. She also told me that training to kill Naruto-san is pointless because in a sense he's innocent. Sakura whispered, already knowing how her mom would take that. "Innocent? There's nothing innocent about that thing. He took your father from us, he nearly. The Tausen tried to kill him, Ka-chan." Sakura pointed out. "He should have been dead from birth." Megumi shouted, her lips pursed in a tight line. "Just what did he do to deserve death from birth?" Sakura asked, but her mother ignored her. "Sakura, listen to me. Forget what your sensei said. Naruto must die by your hands, nothing more nothing less." Megumi shouted. "No mom. It's over, not only is the mission itself suicidal, but sensei is right. You're just too biased against him to listen to reason. If you want Uzumaki dead that badly, perhaps you should become a ninja and kill him yourself." Sakura snapped, heading upstairs to her room and ignoring her mother's outraged protests. Naruto woke up the next day, still feeling tired. He had overslept and had slept for a total of 15 hours which was never good. It was already 1 in the afternoon according to his clock. There was a tap on his window and his eyes swiveled in paranoia to see what it was. It was a carrier bird. Naruto opened up the window and let the bird inside, who offered his delicate leg with a small scroll attached to it. Naruto cautiously took the scroll and opened it. "Naruto-kun, Taoji, Shika, and I are all going to that BBQ place around 2 in the afternoon, if you wanted to come and bring your team, you'd be more than welcome to. Love." Waino, groaning to himself, he discarded the scroll to the side and handed the bird a piece of bread. Then he sent it off again to return to wherever the hell it dwelled. Standing up, he pondered on whether he should just blow Ino off. He didn't feel like seeing her after acting like a jackass yesterday. But then again it has been a while since he's seen Choji and Shikamaru, he was gone for quite a bit in Nami no Kuni. Deciding to go, he threw on a casual outfit of khaki shorts, a black sleeveless shirt, and a set of chainmail armbands. To finish the look, he put on a black pair of jettas and ruffled his hair into long thick spikes. Putting his hands together in the tiger hand seal, he disappeared in a swirl of lightning. 2 minutes later, he finally got to Sasuke's house and pounded on Sasuke's door. After a few minutes of waiting around, he realized that Sasuke was very much gone. "I guess I'll have to go by myself. Wait, I wonder what Kiba or Yujito are up to. Wait, Ino and Yujito in the same vicinity, hell no. But I guess I'll try Kiba's house." Naruto thought, before taking off as fast as he could towards the Inuzuka compound. "Kiba?" Naruto shouted when he arrived, and seconds later a disgruntled Inuzuka Hana came out. "What do you want?" Hana asked abruptly. "Nah, still looking why as ever." Naruto complimented, giving her what he hoped was a foxy smile. "Flattery will get you nowhere with most girls, except for me of course." Hana replied, giving the blonde a soft hug. "It's a shame you're 4 years my junior, perhaps one day when you are a little bit older. Don't flirt with Naruto team." Kiba shouted, appearing in front of them and trying to pry Hana off of Naruto. "Why not? He's a cutie." Hana shot back, before leaning down and giving Naruto a quick peck on his forehead. Naruto couldn't help but blush, but then remembered what Kiba called him. "Love you too, Kiba-chan." Naruto replied swiftly, "Plus, your sister is my type." Naruto replied, giving Kiba a leering smile. "Shut up, what do you want?" Kiba said, giving in to defeat. He knew he really couldn't outwit Naruto when it came to wordplay. "Just wanted to see if you wanted to join me and grab lunch with Team 10 in a bit," Naruto asked, giving Kiba a genuine smile. "Really? Yeah, that sounds great. Can Akamaru come?" Kiba asked excitedly. Naruto had really asked him out on a mandate. He didn't know whether to jump up in joy and then start tap dancing or to play aloof with cool indifference. Too late though. "Yeah, I love that little pup. Go get him." Naruto replied and watched Kiba disappear from view as he sprinted to get Akamaru. "I'll be waiting for you when I get older, Hana-chan." Naruto said offhandedly, giving the older one a wink. "We'll see." Hana replied grinning, before heading inside as well. Moments later, Kiba returned with Akamaru in tow, hiding in the front of his jacket. "Is Sasuke coming?" Kiba asked. "I don't think so, I stopped by his house but he wasn't there." Naruto replied. "Don't you live in the Uchiha compound with him?" Kiba asked pointedly. "Yeah, but we still keep our distance. Sasuke obsesses over his side where he and his parents lived and likes to keep everything in mint condition, so I stay on the other end." Naruto responded. The two of them headed off in silence. They arrived at Saigon's BBQ 20 minutes later. Rather than hurry up and shunshin, they walked and talked, getting to know each other better. Stepping inside the restaurant, Naruto caught the waiter giving him a mean glare. Rather than Chidori him in the face, which he really wanted to do right now, he opted to greet the waiter politely. "Afternoon, sir." "Boy, you know you're not allowed." The waiter began, but Naruto cut him off. "I will beat you senseless if you don't let me in with my friends. I came quietly and in peace, and yet you try my patience. Perhaps if I strung you up by your intestines, would you cease to bother me?" Naruto growled out, though most of it was testosterone-induced bluffing. "Very well. Where are your supposed friends?" The waiter asked, turning his nose up at Naruto. "If you don't stop acting like a jackass, I have no problems beating your ass." Kiba snarled. "I'm here to eat with the heirs of the Akimichi, Nara, and Yamanaka clan." Naruto responded. The waiter wanted to voice his disbelief, but he was cut off as Ino suddenly launched herself into Naruto's arms, pushing herself flush against him and giving him a kiss. "Naruto-kun, you came." Ino shouted enthusiastically. "Almost didn't thanks to the waiter here." Naruto replied, giving the waiter a scathing look, causing the short bald man to wither and move away from the genin. Naruto and Kiba followed Ino to the table where they were sitting and Naruto offered Shikamaru and Choji a smile. "What's up Shika and Cho?" Naruto asked, sitting at the table, leaving room for Ino and Kiba. The lazy genius yawned and offered Naruto a lazy grin. "Nothing much, Naruto. How have you been?" Shikamaru asked. "Yeah, we haven't seen you in a while. We heard you were on an awesome A-rank mission. That's unheard of for a team of new genin." Choji spoke before shoveling some meat into his mouth. At the mention of Nami, Naruto's smile faltered. It was okay. We hit a couple of snags here and there, but we made it out alive, even if only barely." Naruto replied. "Yeah, we were awesome out there, we kicked a lot of ass." Kiba replied boastfully, before leaning down to nuzzle the top of Akamaru's head, who let out a small yawn. "That's one way of looking at it." Naruto offered, before bowing his head down. "I did Akamasu. What happened?" Shikamaru asked, genuinely interested. "Things got ugly. The client lied to us about the classification of the mission. He claimed he wanted protection from bandits and paid for a C-rank mission, when in reality he was being hunted down by Gato of Gato Industries. We were attacked by the Mamachi's Abusa of Kiri, as well as his B-ranked apprentice Haku, the demon brothers of Kiri, over 100 bandits and ex-samurai, and one Enyujito of Kumo. It got pretty bad, but if it weren't for Naruto here, we'd be all dead." Kiba replied. "I did alright. If it weren't for Sharingan and Kakashi teaching me Chidori, I wouldn't have survived." Kiba did well, he and Yujito took out the bandits and ex-samurai, while Sasuke beat down the B-ranked apprentice Haku, enough for me to kill him anyway. Naruto shot back, unwilling to take all the credit. "That sounds troublesome. Thank God it wasn't us out there, we would have been killed." Shikamaru replied. "True, but because of it, Team 7 is set for life." Kiba responded. "What do you mean?" Choji mumbled out, food still in his mouth. "Choji, that's disgusting." Ino cried out, before leaning into Naruto's shoulder. Not wanting to turn her down in front of her friends, Naruto wrapped his arm around her and allowed her vanilla lavender smell to taint his senses. "What Kiba means is that we blackmailed Tizuna into giving us 2% of any profit Nami makes, each of us get 2%, so if Nami takes off like it's supposed to, we get rich." Naruto replied. "What a drag. That could be a lot of money." Shikamaru spoke. The 5 genin continued shooting shit and finished their meal. But like everything, all must come to an end. Hada Kakashi walked in on them and gave Naruto an eye frown. "Sorry to disturb your meal, but Naruto, you must come with me." Kakashi spoke dramatically. "Nah, you always ruin things Kakin-san." Naruto replied without thinking and thought of what he just called Kakashi. Kakashi put his hand on Naruto's shoulder in a placating manner. "Come on, Naruto-kun." Pulling money out of Gama-chan, he tossed it on the table. "Sorry to run guys, this should cover everyone's meal and the next few drinks or so." Giving the other genin an apologetic wave, he headed off with his teacher. They walked in silence until they arrived in training field 7. "What are we doing here?" Naruto asked politely. He was honestly confused, seeing as Kakashi was taking him here by himself on a day off. "Jiraiya wanted to meet you here, he wanted to show you something." Kakashi replied evenly. Rather than be impetuous and ask what the Hokage needed to show him, he opted to be silent and follow his sensei. They walked for a bit until they could see the older Sannin concentrating, his hand held out. This is a good enough distance. Kakashi spoke. For what? Naruto asked. The Rasengan. I know you want to be childish and not learn from me or Jiraiya, but we want you to understand the power we're going to try to give you. Kakashi replied. Jiraiya sent his chakra to his hand, the small vortex forming a small sphere in his hand, with chakra running rampant in it, swirling in different directions. Rasengan. Jiraiya yelled, before slamming the spherical orb of destruction into the earth. There was the sound of earth being grinded, and suddenly Naruto found out why they were at a distance. The dirt collapsed in itself, and suddenly dirt was uprooted into the air and flying about, leveling out the area. Naruto stood there, eyes wide and mouth agape. That's the Rasengan? Naruto asked. More or less a watered-down version. Kakashi replied. We want to teach it to you, but only if you let go of your pride and let us. Kakashi continued. Jiraiya shunshed to where they were standing. How was that for a demonstration? Jiraiya asked, beaming down upon the genin. Not bad, old man. Naruto replied, causing Jiraiya to arch an eyebrow at him. So do you want me to teach you, or will you let your pride stand in your way? Jiraiya asked. My fat. Yondaime created that, Naruto asked. Both of the seasoned veterans caught the slip-up. Yeah, he did. And we want you to learn it as well. Kakashi replied, ruffling the boy's hair. Fine. I humbly accept. I want to learn the Rasengan Hokage-sama. Naruto responded and Jiraiya smiled at him. Smart boy, you'll be better than your old man in no time. Jiraiya replied. But I'm about to ask you a question and I don't want you to bullshit with me. Why? Kakashi already taught me the Chidori, which is in its own class. Why do you want me to learn Rasengan? Naruto asked. The fourth was a genius, epically so. He created the Rasengan after 3 years of training, taking spatial decomposition to new heights. It requires no hand seals and therefore cannot be copied by such as the Sharingan, and even then it's incomplete. Jiraiya spoke boastfully, his eyes watering up as he thought fondly of the Yondaime Hokage. What do you mean it's incomplete? Naruto asked, genuinely interested. The fourth wanted to incorporate one's own element into the attack to make it S-ranked and above, but regrettably he died before he could ever do so. You probably don't know this, but Rasengan is where the Chidori stems from. Yondaime taught it to me, and when I tried to incorporate lightning into the attack, it failed, so I created a solely based on elemental recomposition, namely the Chidori and then Rikiri. Kakashi admitted. But perhaps with time, you can go further than where Yondaime and we failed and incorporate elemental chakra in it. We do have high hopes for you, Naruto-kun. Jiraiya spoke gently, smiling at the stoic genin. Why me? Is it because I'm the vessel for the Kyuubi and you want me armed with more to kill others with? Naruto asked timidly. No. We want you armed because we want you to protect not only yourself but the village. Because of your existence, you and this village will be attacked by members of the Akatsuki. They want you to hold inside and kill you for it, then destroy the ninja world as we know it. We cannot allow that to happen. Jiraiya replied gravely. Why don't you exile me or kill me before something like that happens? Naruto asked. Jiraiya paused for a second before replying. A Shu'Kage, perhaps it would be smart to do something like that, get rid of one to save thousands. But as Jiraiya of the Sannin, Toad Sage and Sensei Dynamic's Minato, Yondaime Hokage, I couldn't do that. Jiraiya replied. Why not? Because I'm Minato's son. Naruto asked timidly, unsure of where he stood with Jiraiya. Because you are Minato's son, and because I'm your godfather. Jiraiya revealed sadly. Naruto didn't speak. His emotions were high, and memories bit into him like the fangs of the Kyuubi. The loneliness he suffered for so long rose to the surface, and anger. Unfathomable anger rose, almost as if he had ripped the seal of the Kyuubi and let the damnable beast out. Why don't you just die, you little shit? You're a demon, you don't deserve happiness. You're such a beast, it's no wonder you're an orphan. Die. Why don't you stay dead? Get out of my shop, you filthy demon. You'll never become a Hokage. You're just garbage. Your mother was a whore, filthy monster. Die. 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 Naruto slumped and fell to his knees, the sadness of years without family and the sadness of never having anybody loving him returning. And here was the Yondaime Hokage, revealing to him that he was his godfather. The person who was supposed to have taken care of him when Minato and Kushina died. Why was he always so alone? Was this his destiny as Jinchuriki? That the people who were destined to look after him end up dead or running away from him, leaving him to suffer. His eyes watered up uncontrollably, letting tears slide down his cheeks unabashedly. Perhaps he truly was alone in this world. Covering up his face with his soft yet calloused hands, he let out a wail that sent shivers into Jiraiya's bones, reminding the Sannin of his failures as said godfather. You bastard. Naruto sobbed out angrily, looking back up to Jiraiya, his tears shining brightly in the sunlight. I'll never forgive you. Not you or the Yondaime. Until I die and beyond the grave, I will forever hold a grudge against you for leaving me to suffer in the shithole of a village. I don't care what reasons you had, you knew. I'm so sorry, Naruto. Naruto continued on as if he hadn't heard him. You knew. And yet you never came back for me. You let them hate me, never once stopping to think of how I was doing, you bastard. You son of a bitch, Jiraiya. Naruto cursed, swallowing a sob. Jiraiya swallowed the lump that was forming in his throat. I was busy tracking Orochimaru down as well. You were writing porn for sale. If you had time for that, couldn't you have visited me? Naruto spat out, standing back up to his feet. Naruto. Kakashi tried to intervene, but Naruto brushed him off. Don't make excuses for him, sensei, Naruto replied, drying his tears off with his shirt. His neon green eyes hardened into cold steel with rage. You didn't have to take me with you, all you had to do was visit me, even if it was once a year, just to let me know that someone cared, that someone loved me and that I wasn't alone. To let me know I was suffering for a reason, and you didn't. You didn't care about me then, and you don't get to now, Naruto finished, his body shaking with barely restrained anger. I wanted to, Naruto, believe me I did, but time flew faster than even I could believe. I was so obsessed with bringing Orochimaru back that I neglected my duties as a godfather. Jiraiya offered apologetically. With all due respect, it is pointless now. I believe Kakashi-sensei here was going to teach me the Rasengan. I don't think there's more for us to say, Hokage-sama. Naruto declared softly, damming his eyes for water up. Jiraiya winced at his tone. He deserved it and he knew it. Yes, we're going to teach you Rasengan, Kakashi knows a bit of it, but I'm the current master at it. Jiraiya replied. Fine, let's get this over with, I'm pretty sure you have more porn to write, one godfather. Jiraiya sighed in defeat. We're going to blow up Suna, yeah. Now that will be my favorite work of art, my beauty. Deidara declared, as the 4S rank missing nin continued onward on their trek to Suna. Blowing things up as you so eloquently put it, Deidara-kun, is not beauty. My mastery of puppet making is beauty, forever looking the same and never changing, an ethereal beauty, puppetry is. Sasori said, chastising the enthusiastic Akatsuki member. Remember, we are not here to exhaust ourselves. We just want to draw the 3 out, then capture them, not blow up an entire nation, Deidara. Itachi reminded me of the effeminate Iwa. You sure are a party pooper, Itachi-chan. Don't you want us to have any fun? Kisame asked. Have fun all you like, Kisame, as long as it does not interfere with our mission. Itachi shot back, his face ever so stoic. Deidara, have you sent out the clay bird with the message that we're coming? Do we want Konoha to get here just in time? Itachi asked. What do you think I am, stupid? Or perhaps you're just excited to see your old village once again, much nostalgic, Itachi-chan. Deidara asked. Itachi moved so swiftly that none of them had time to react. The next second Deidara was screaming as phantom pain tore into him, unlike anything he had ever known. Remember that I left you alive on a whim and that you are nothing to me. The name is Uchiha Itachi to you, Deidara-chan, never forget that. Itachi growled out. Was that necessary, Itachi-chan? Kisame asked, earning a glare from the Uchiha. Okay, I get the point. Amaretto ducked a swift swing of the Raikage's blade before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. Son of a bitch. The dark-skinned Raikage cursed. Konoha has Yujito. Pondering what to do, he paced back and forth in his office. Those cocky, arrogant little shits. Jiraiya will pay for this, make no doubt about it. You do not cross the Yondaime Raikage. Samui, summon Hachikira and the council at once. He ordered Big Breasts. She disappeared and minutes later, the Eight-Tailed and the senior members of the council arrived in the Raikage's office. What seems to be the problem, Raikage-sama? Nakamaru Hitomi, senior member of the council asked politely, wondering what had the Raikage so angered. Apparently on that mission Yujito was sent to Nami, she attacked some leaf nins and got captured. Now the Hokage is using that act the Shodai created, stating that if we use it against them in a time of peace, they can keep the captured vessel. The Raikage stormed. Murmurs began spreading through the room as several members voiced their disbelief. How could Yujito lose to those bastards? One of them asked. I don't know who would be strong enough to take Yujito down, but the Hokage and maybe the copy nin had a Kakashi himself. We cannot let this trespass go without punishment. The Raikage replied angrily. Are you suggesting we go to war against them? Hachikira asked. Yes, that's full well what I'm suggesting. I say we barter a treaty with Iwa and a new village called Odo and swarm Konoha. Konoha is very limited to its allies and if we can corner them, we can make them pay for the third great ninja war. The Raikage replied. Are you sure it's a good idea? We still have Hachikira after all, it was just the Nibi. Hitomi asked. What if next time they want Hachikira, not to mention with Akatsuki lurking around, we need Yujito when they attack? The Yondaime Raikage asked. Exactly, with the Akatsuki on the loom, why after all? Another member asked. Because there will always be war and they are our weapons. The Raikage replied evenly. Hachikira grunted in response. We need Yujito, point blank. We shall send Hachikira and his team to Konoha with a small platoon in order to demand that they return the girl, and if they don't comply, Hachikira will use the Hachibi and annihilate the village, level it completely. Either way, we're getting Enyujito back in Kumo. The Raikage ordered. When should I head out, Raikage-sama? Hachikira asked. Now, summon your team while I gather up the platoon. The Raikage ordered. Hachikira disappeared, leaving with a bad taste in his mouth. Things were about to get ugly, real ugly indeed. After sending his carrier bird out to his team, they appeared within a few minutes. "What's up, Kurabi?" Samui asked, giving her sensei an odd look. It had been quite some time since he called them for anything. "Kurabi-sensei, is it true about Yujito-sama?" Amoy asked, the dark-skinned blonde asked. Amoy had always been a great tactician, he fitted very well in the team, considering that the Jounin sensei was a rapper, a big-breasted bitch who was a renowned tease, and his sister Carrie, who he loved to bag on for being relatively flat-chested. Especially in comparison to Samui. Yeah, apparently she attacked some Konoha and they managed to defeat her and imprison her in Konoha. The Raikage wants us to bring her back and if Konoha refuses, simply annihilate the village. Should it come to that, I will be unleashing the Hachibi and reaping havoc, you guys on the other hand, will be hitting up the civilians and junior shinobi. All of you are damn good and I expect nothing short of excellence from you. The three shinobi saluted their Jounin sensei. Hi. They all said simultaneously. Team Samui and Kurabi disappeared in a flash, heading up to the Raikage and then onward to their mission. Team Jiraiya Dono, I just received a letter from the Akatsuki declaring war upon us in an attempt to take my beloved son Gaara from us. Since we are allied nations, it is imperative for you to help us. Please Godame, assist us in this battle against the Akatsuki, I know that you too have amongst your ranks. Son Agakure will help fight your battles against Akatsuki in the future, but for now, assist us in this battle, and we will pay each shinobi you sent payment for an SS-ranked mission. Very respectfully, Sabaku no Urameshi, Yondaime Kazukiage of Son Agakure, leading shinobi of Kase no Kuni. Jiraiya sighed, running his hands through his long mane of hair. This upcoming attack by the Akatsuki was unprecedented. According to his intel, they weren't even supposed to go after them for another 3 years. He had planned on having Naruto trained to handle himself by then, so he wouldn't have to worry much. Just exactly who the hell was he going to send to fight Suna's battle for now? He really couldn't send Naruto there, the boy had just turned 13 earlier this week and he hadn't even mastered the Rasengan yet, let alone Hiraishin. He knew he could send Enyujito, but she was inseparable to his godson. None of his were nowhere nearly qualified to handle any of Akatsuki's S-rank shinobi. But if he didn't act upon the Kazukiage's plea for help, it could backfire and have negative consequences for Konoha later on. They really were in deep shit. Despite wanting to, he obviously couldn't go into battle himself. He was the Godame Hokage, and Konoha itself wouldn't allow him to leave for such a dangerous task. Just what was he going to do? Forming the cross-hand seal, Jiraiya summoned up a Kage Bunshin and left it to do his daily paperwork, which is what he usually did anyway. After giving it instructions, he took off, heading towards the council's chambers to seek advice for the dire situation. An hour later, everybody was summoned and in their seats. Sarutobi Hiruzen was now head of the council, which was ironic considering how much he argued and fought them in his reign. Jiraiya-kun, why have you summoned us so abruptly? Sarutobi asked openly and unabashedly. Akatsuki is making its move, sensei. Son Agakure is pleading for help and we relied enough on shinobi as is. But if we disregard their plea, we could make enemies of a nation we worked so hard to ally ourselves with. Jiraiya explained. The Akatsuki want to, do they not? Hiashi spoke up. Yes, the Akatsuki want to capture them and extract them from them. Jiraiya replied gravely. Then it would not be smart to send Uzumaki or Yujito for such a task. Hiashi declared. Who the hell else are we going to send? Well, we have plenty of elite, how many do you think can handle S-rank missing nin? Jiraiya asked. Send the brat. It's him they want anyway, we don't want to piss off the Akatsuki after all. One of the civilians replied. Normally that would be unwise, but two might do. But we're not sending them on a suicidal mission, I do intend for them to return. Jiraiya declared. I am the boy's godfather and I will not tolerate any biased remarks based on what is sealed and imprisoned within him. Jiraiya argued. Who else can we send that would be significant enough for this? Hada Kakashi obviously, but who else? Sarutobi asked. I'm honestly thinking that Inoichi, Shikaku and Chauza should go, but not as actual fighters, rather as backup and for interrogation purposes. Jiraiya replied. He looked up apologetically to the old Ino Shikacho team. They nodded their heads in acceptance, knowing full well that they were needed. Better them than their children. You guys will need good scouts. I will offer my help. Hiashi spoke, closing his eyes, realizing that the situation was indeed heavy. Thank you Hiashi Dono. We're going to need an Inyazuka and Tenzu. Definitely Tenzu to counter the Yaokai in case it gets to be too much for Naruto or Yujito. Jiraiya nodded thankfully. Leaving the Inyazuka, Haddock will be the tracker. I will go as well. Sarutobi offered, standing up to his feet. Sensei, what are you talking about, you can't go. You are retired and too old to fight off some. Jiraiya complained. Even so, we are delaying the inevitable. Jiraiya-chan, we both know my time on this earth is limited, I might as well make the best of it. As Kage, it is one's duty to protect the younger generation's will of fire. Even if I die on this mission against the Akatsuki, it will be all worth it. I would gladly die for such a cause. Sarutobi declared, reminding the council of why he was known as Kami no Shinobi, the god of shinobi. Sensei, don't. We have no choice, Jiraiya. Powerful as I am, what good is all that power if I'm sitting here like a politician? Sarutobi asked. Jiraiya hung his head in defeat. Alright, Team 7 and Enyujito will go first, 2 hours later Hiashi, Kakashi, Tenzu and the Sandaime will go. Lastly, the Ino Shikacho will go as backup. Any questions? Jiraiya asked. No one said anything. It was a dark day in Konoha. And it would only get darker. Chapter 11. The Chamber of Time and Requirement. There was a soft knock on the door, much to the spiky-haired blonde's irritation. Opening up his eyes, he rolled out of bed, dressed in a pair of cute pajamas, opposite of what the shinobi truly was. He was a ninja, a killer, and had long since stopped being a child like the rest of the lambs. Walking towards the door, his feet echoing soft pit-patting, he opened the door and stared at Enyujito, clad in normal attire, with black pants and shirt and a green flak vest over the front. Her eight was wrapped around her forehead, unlike many of the Kunoichi he met, who tried to look feminine even throughout their missions. She definitely looked ready to kill, and ultimately, she was hot. Yes, Yujito-san. Naruto answered formally, not really trying to start the usual banter he seemed to ease in with the ex-Kumo Kunoichi. Happy belated birthday. Anyway, vacation's up, we got a new mission, and I'm replacing Kaka Hentai temporarily as your squad leader. Yujito replied, and the blonde genin almost smiled. She wished him a happy birthday. Here's your birthday present. She continued and handed him a few slips of paper. They were all-you-can-eat ramen coupons to Ichiraku. Hi. Thank you, Yujito-san. Naruto replied dumbfounded. Respectfully request permission to come in and discuss mission perimeters. Yujito asked, bowing her head low. Stop being so formal, Yujito. 1. You're and I'm a genin, so I should be technically bowing to you, even though I'm not. 2. Come in, let's discuss the nature of this mission. Naruto stepped back and allowed Yujito entrance. Genin stepped in and sat on Naruto's suede couch. Naruto clasped his hands together and turned to look at the fellow. What is going on, what's this next mission? Is it something cool? Naruto asked. It is a mission of grave importance. Do you know of the existence of the Akatsuki I'm assuming? Yujito asked. Yes, it's a band of 9 shinobi, all S-ranked or above who try to capture all 9 and conquer the shinobi world. Naruto replied softly, remembering that Uchiha Itachi, the man who spared him from a blind world, was part of that organization. Hi. Well, the Akatsuki are going to attack Sunagakure and attempt to collect the One Tail. 3 teams, a total of 11 shinobi are going to attempt to stop them. According to Jiraiya-sama's intel, there are 4 Akatsuki members for this mission. Yujito spoke. 4, all for one, Naruto asked doubtfully. I figured you would suspect something as well. According to Jiraiya, it could be either to level the entire village or to lure us out and capture me and you as well. Yujito replied. So why the hell are you and I going, isn't that self-defeating? Naruto shot back. Yes, but Jiraiya suspects that the Raikage will attempt to start a war while we are away. It's a catch-22. Most likely, we will be going to war against Kumo, and if we ignore the Kazukige's plea, he will ally himself against us. So for that, Jiraiya is sticking behind with some top, cancelling the exams and preparing for a war. We on the other hand must defeat the Akatsuki with little to no deaths on our side and return to Konoha to resume the assumed battle. Yujito replied softly. It would be stupid to deny that she was scared out of her wits. For so long she'd worked alone, now she had to lead a team against the Akatsuki forces, 4 S-ranked shinobi with a pair of fresh genin. He's cancelling the exams, damn it must really be bad for him to cancel possible sponsoring and funding from the daimyo. Naruto said pointedly. Yes, it is. But we must do what we have to do. According to Jiraiya-sama, promotions will be earned on the field rather than through some outdated tests or so as he put it. Yujito replied. How long do we have until we head out? Naruto asked. We have less than 3 hours to be fully prepared, get dressed and follow me to the Hokage's office. He also told me to relay to you to not worry about nin tools or clothing, simply to throw on an outfit and follow me there. Yujito relayed. Naruto gave her a quizzical look before smiling, unable to help himself. Did you want me to change right now, in front of you? Naruto asked, smiling as Yujito's eyes lit in self-righteous anger. You're pushing it, Naruto. And here I thought you weren't always an asshole. She replied. Naruto stood up and gave her an amused grin. Yet you haven't really answered the question, Yugi-chan. He shot back. Taking the bait, before flipping it back on him, the 14-year-old stood up as well, before grabbing the front of his shirt and slamming him against the wall. Pushing the hair out of his eyes, Yujito pressed herself fully against him, her pelvic flush against his, and got within mere inches of kissing him. I'd bet you'd like that, unfortunately for you, I don't want you. She bit off, releasing him. Naruto smirked at that, before grabbing the fellow and spinning her, pressing her against the wall. Grabbing hold of her flak vest, his lips lingered by the hollow of her throat, his warm breath tickling her. Unfortunately for you, we both know that's a lie. He replied, releasing her and heading back towards his room to change. When he returned, Yujito almost lost her breath. He came out dressed in dark blue shinobi pants, a dark blue undershirt cut off at the sleeves with a white plain high-collared jacket, making him look nearly exactly like the Indama Hokage sans the whiskers and flak vest. Like the digs. Naruto replied, smirking, before walking out of his door with Yujito on his trail. Sasuke and Kiba, are they meeting us up there as well? Naruto asked, ignoring the scathing looks the villagers shot him on the way to the Hokage's office. How dare he attempt to look like the fourth? The very man he killed in Runt. One of them growled out. Naruto continued on his way as if he never heard anything. Don't ignore us, you little shit. How dare you? Another cried out, tossing Naruto an evil glare. One of the braver ones actually ran up to him. Take that jacket off, you dirty demon. Naruto stopped in mid-step and swiveled around to look at the incredulous civilian. What did you call me, young piece of shit? Naruto asked, his cerulean eyes bleeding into red. I called you a filthy, disgusting, low-life demon. You should have died on October 10th, 13 years ago. The civilian shrieked and Naruto lost his temper. Before the man could react, Naruto had grabbed him by the throat, covering the space between them at a speed that Yujito hadn't been able to catch, and lifted him up as high as his arms would allow. I could kill you for treason, I should kill you for treason. Next time, I might become the Kyuubi as you villagers claim I am, and destroy you and your family. But fortunately, I'm not, and you weak sack of monkey flesh, aren't worth getting my hands bloody for. Naruto growled out, before tossing him aside helplessly into a crate of fruit. Naruto. Come on, let's go to the Hokage's office hastily before anything else happens. Yujito urged. Blood-red eyes interlocked with hers. Hi, Chunin-san. Naruto leveled out through bared fangs. His whiskers were more pronounced, darker even. Yujito chose not to reply and agitated the fellow. They arrived at the Hokage's office fairly quickly. Once they did, the Hokage's secretary Raito asked for Naruto to go in the office alone at first and for Yujito to stay outside. Naruto-san, the Hokage would like a word with you. Radio beckoned. Naruto already knew the Hokage would bitch about what just happened minutes ago, but he didn't really care. If anything, the Hokage should thank him for not killing the irritating bastard. Stepping inside the office, Naruto chose not to get off on a bad start and stood at attention, giving the wall behind Jiraiya a 1,000-yard stare. After using a sound sealing seal on the door so the conversation remained private, Jiraiya turned to the boy. What was that out there in the courtyards? Jiraiya demanded, his face flushing in anger. I do not understand the question. Naruto drew out. Why the bloody hell would you threaten a civilian, let alone his family? Jiraiya yelled, giving the boy what he dubbed the stink eye. Why the hell wouldn't I? He committed treason, broke a law that dictates immediate execution. Naruto replied. Don't take the tone of voice with me. I'm fighting every day against the council trying to prove that you're more than a demon or a weapon, and yet you deliberately chose to prove them right. I don't give a damn what he called you or what he did, you do not put your hands on a civilian and choke them in public like some deranged sociopath. Jiraiya yelled once more. Perhaps I am what the council thinks of me, or better yet, perhaps I am the Kyuubi in human flesh. Naruto never got to finish the statement as Jiraiya slapped him hard across the face. The slap was enough to snap his neck to the side, his cheek ringing in pain. Don't ever say something as stupid as that again, Naruto. Jiraiya warned. It's true, you have no way of knowing. Perhaps it would be better for you to stop fighting on my behalf and let my actions speak for themselves. I am a shinobi of Konohagakure, fighting every day to protect the village from harm. If that is not enough proof for these idiots, then I will not attempt to change their mind. Naruto replied. Do you know what would happen if I stopped fighting for you? They would lock you up, experiment on you, before ultimately killing you. Jiraiya shot back angrily. The day they make that move against me will be the day of reckoning. It will be the day Uzumaki Naruto is no more, having ripped the seal that ties the Kyuubi to this flesh and unleashes him to wreak havoc. Konoha doesn't want a hero, and on that day I will cease to stop fighting for this village and simply let it burn like my innocence. Like the lives of the slain Uchiha, whose blood soaks the ground and cries out to me for retribution. Naruto returned softly, not really threatening Jiraiya, but merely letting him know the consequences. I cannot have an unstable person in my army, one who so easily threatens Konoha. Jiraiya mustered out. It's easy to call someone unstable when the very village he's sworn to protect wants him dead at all costs. If it weren't for Sandaime Jiji and very few others, I surmise Konoha would have been destroyed long ago. Naruto returned. If you weren't Minato's kid and my godson, I'd kill you right now. Jiraiya threatened. I'm not Minato's kid and I'm not your godson. The same warning that goes for this village goes to Yao Hokage-sama. Don't test my patience, don't test my loyalty, and don't threaten me unless you wish to cease from existence. The Genin and Hokage stared each other down for a few seconds. Are you loyal to the village? Jiraiya asked. I am loyal to a few that reside in it. Therefore Konoha's welfare is in my best interests. Otherwise I'd be neutral to the nation itself, if not bitter. Naruto replied dangerously. What if I told you I wanted you to be my successor? To change Konoha as we know it, stop the distrust and make this a better place. Would you join me and your father amongst those ranks? Jiraiya asked. No. Naruto bit off curtly. Why not? Jiraiya asked. The Shad-I and Nid-I were bigoted idiots. Sand-I was a naive trusting fool, Yond-I was a naive idiot, a horrible sperm donor, and God-I, he's a sad hentai who shirks all duties when it comes to people. All of them have slighted their people, I do not wish to be like any of you. Naruto spoke levelly, keeping the ire out of his eyes. Naruto. We are all flawed. Even the Hokages down to you, the Genin, are all flawed. But it's our love for this village that causes it to prosper. Don't you want this village to prosper? Jiraiya asked solemnly, giving the 13-year-old a sad look. I want this village to burn. Naruto thought angrily. So do I. Another voice invaded Naruto's thoughts, malignant and full of ire. The Kyuubi must be trying to force his influence upon him, Naruto mused before shutting the voice away. Yes, Hokage-sama. But it won't be through my hands that this village prospers. Naruto retorted, as long as I'm alive with the Kyuubi inside of me, I will never be Hokage. Naruto finished, neon green eyes locking with the Hokage's liquid brown ones. And that's why I'm going to mold Konoha for you, Naruto. Like a potter, I will put Konoha through a trial of fire until it's nothing more than soft clay, and one day, you'll finish the complete project and sculpt it to your liking. Jiraiya finished, clasping his calloused hands together. We'll see when that day arrives. Naruto replied, in the meantime, what's going on with this mission? Naruto continued. As Yujito must have briefed you, the Akatsuki are on the move and about to attack Sunagakure. And they're trying to draw you and Yujito out there. The problem is, you two are the only ones who could remotely even have a chance against the Akatsuki, barring myself, Sandaime, and Hada Kakashi. But on the other hand, no other is nowhere near S-ranked and is in no way shape or form ready to take the Akatsuki. And again, neither is your team. But you and Yujito have the sealed away within you full of destructive chakra, and Sasuke has the Sharingan as well as Uchiha blood running through his veins. Jiraiya finished morosely. So the situation is so dire, you're willing to send a team of Genin +1 to fight numerous S-ranked personnel who want 3 of 9 to destroy the world. That sounds about right. Naruto asked sarcastically. Actually Kiba's not going on this mission. He needs some time to adapt to shinobi life after this last mission in Nami. He might join you in the submission prior to your departure. But if it makes you feel comfortable, there will be 2 backup teams sent in 2-hour intervals after you head out. In one team, you'll have your sensei Kakashi, Yamato who is an ex-Anbu, Hyuga Hiashi, and the Sandaime Sarutobi Hiruzen will be the second team. Lastly, the former Ino Shikacho team will be the final backup for capture and interrogation. Jiraiya replied. Giji's fighting? Naruto asked, his eyes downcast. He wanted to fight for Naruto. He wants to earn your forgiveness, even if it means losing his life. Also a Shukage, it's his mission to protect Konoha and all its citizens from people like the Akatsuki. Jiraiya spoke, seeing the boy's turmoil. He's too old to fight this fight. Naruto sputtered out, he shouldn't be fighting this fight, not for something as trivial as forgiveness from me. Naruto continued, his eyes starting to water up. Take him off the team. Naruto demanded. I can't, Sarutobi-sensei's going one way or another, he's a stubborn old goat when he wants to be. Jiraiya explained. Naruto folded his arms over each other and pondered for a second. What's so strong about this Akatsuki or even the possibility of a war against Kumo that you're cancelling the Chunin exams? Naruto asked. Jiraiya looked at him for a second before answering. As you know, Uchiha Itachi is in the Akatsuki, he ranks 5th in their ranks, and people thought he was the second coming of the Yondaime. The leader, Uchiha Madara faced off against your father, Namikaze Minato, and left the fight without a scratch. He's a beast parallel to no one, second to the Shad-I at the time, simply because he hadn't mastered his Iron no Manjikyu Sharingan. Akatsuki is nothing to be trifled with. We don't have much info on the rest of their members, but we can assume they are not a joke. One of their members, Dodara, was able to murder the Yondaime Tsuchikage with some unknown. Now as per Kumagakure, they will attack in order to get Yujito back, that's why I'm sending her on this mission. Not to mention, they have a second, the Hachibi sealed away within the Reikage's brother. The reason I'm sending you on this mission is because I don't want a full-scale war against the Akatsuki in Konoha ground, and they will be after you, and until they're defeated they'll be relentless. You, Uzumaki Naruto, a vessel for the Kyuubi, have to fight against them. If I shy you away from them, you will never be able to handle the upcoming dangers. So despite the fact that I want you to be safe, I need you to become stronger, a hell of a lot stronger than you currently are. Jiraiya muttered. Which brings me to my next question. Naruto began, turning his head sideways to look at the Hokage quizzically. What is the Iron no Manjikyu Sharingan that Uchiha Madara has? Also, what the hell is this submission you're on about? Naruto asked. The first part is easy. Manjikyu Sharingan can be obtained only through one way. One must kill their closest friend, or so the scroll roughly translates. As you know, you don't have the true Manjikyu, yours is a combination of Itachi's version and the Kyuubi modifying the genetics in your body. Jiraiya grunted out. What do you mean by that? Naruto fired back. Jiraiya sighed at the inquisitive boy. He reminded him of Minato more than Naruto could admit. Your Manjikyu isn't yours. You never killed your closest friend. When Itachi implanted the eyes into you, as Kyuubi healed you, somehow it wrote the Uchiha Sharingan into your DNA permanently. You will always have the Sharingan now without the drawbacks that Kakashi faces. It's like you're an Uchiha now, but not really. When Itachi gave part of his power to you, not only did it give you his knowledge, hindsight, instincts but unintentionally or intentionally, he gave you the Manjikyu. So while you have the Manjikyu, it's not really yours, it's a copy of Itachi's at the point of transfer. Jiraiya explained, nearly smiling seeing the genin so enraptured by his story. Oh. I get it. Same with Sasuke. Yeah. If you or Sasuke were to kill each other or something, you'd have a true version of it, designed solely for you. Naruto was quiet for a second. There's no other way. To get that power. Jiraiya stared into Naruto's neon green orbs. None that I know of. Like I said, the scrolls were roughly translated, and there have only been a total of 16 Manjikyu users in the entire 170 years of the clan's existence. Jiraiya said, before stopping for a second. There could be another way. But you'd have to figure that out for yourself. Jiraiya continued. Fine, what about the Iron version? Naruto spoke. Manjikyu's main drawback is that it blinds the user. As punishment for having killed one's best friend, the user of the Manjikyu will be blinded after repeated use. On the other hand, if you were to kill your brother, a Manjikyu user himself, and take his eyes, you'd have the Iron, a permanent eternal version. It's also an upgrade from the already powerful Manjikyu, and you don't blind yourself in its use. Jiraiya explained. So to be the strongest Uchiha, you had to kill your best friend, then your brother. The Uchiha were up in the head. Naruto commented, avoiding Jiraiya's gaze for a second. Now as for the submission, you don't have to agree, though your teammates have. There's an artifact very precious to me, which I always keep close by. It's the scroll leading to the Chamber of Time and Requirement. It was bestowed to me by Hanzo of AIM when he gave my teammates and me the title Densetsu no Sanin. Each of us was given a special artifact for nearly beating that bastard. Orochimaru was given the Kusanagi, Tsunade was given some powerful medical scroll passed down by the Rakuto Sennin, and I was given a scroll as well. I'm not sure about what the others do or don't do, but my scroll is for one-time use only. It can either send a person back in time to change something, or send them to an alternate universe momentarily where 2 days in there are 2 hours back home. In that universe, that pocket of space is everything that the users need. I want you to enter with your teammates and train for 2 years, return more powerful in Batis, get promoted to Ore and head down to Sunagakure and fight one of the biggest battles of your life. I won't send you there if you refuse the offer. Otherwise it'd be suicide. So what do you say? Jiraiya asked. This is crazy. I don't really have much of a choice. I could not go and then be destroyed by the Akatsuki or Kumo. Or I could do this crazy thing you're talking about and be mildly prepared for whatever happens. I guess I'll do it. But if you could go back in time using that, why? Why did I not save your father from sealing the Kyuubi if I could go back in time? Jiraiya asked. Yeah. Naruto replied softly, still averting his gaze. Simple. Your father told me not to. He knew of my scroll, and he requested I don't stop him from doing it. He didn't want anyone to seal the Kyuubi but him, because he didn't want to be around to look at you, knowing he had your life up. Jiraiya explained gently. Son of A Naruto seethed out, but Jiraiya interrupted him. Don't hate him for it. Minato-kun was human like all of us, he had just lost Kushina in childbirth and couldn't handle the thought of living a life not only without her, but in which he had been forced to seal a demon within his son. He couldn't find any other way to stop the Kyuubi, and in his love for the village he sacrificed you. Jiraiya continued. Had it been anybody but him, the Kyuubi would have broken out of its cage and destroyed us. Minato had to die to save the village, do you understand that? It's not like he wanted to abandon you, but rather he had no choice. Naruto looked forlorn for a second. It's of no consequence. Let's just start this training and get it over and done with. Naruto bit off, finally looking into the old man's eyes. Hi. Naruto, before we do this, I'm going to say this one last thing. Even if you never forgive me and your father, we all loved you, and we still do. Jiraiya said gently. Naruto chose not to respond. Moments later they were joined by Sasuke, Yujito, Kakashi, an unknown man, and Kiba. Are you ready for this? Jiraiya asked them one last time for confirmation. Hi Hokage-sama. They all said simultaneously. Roger. You will take with you scrolls containing the secrets to some of Konoha's most prized techniques. Each of you will have a unique scroll. Sasuke, yours will have some of the Uchiha's most powerful attacks. Yujito, you will have a scroll based on lightning manipulation. Also, you should probably master using your Nibi's Yaokai until you're able to handle both tails of chakra. Naruto, you on the other hand are tasked with the hardest task. Using Yamato and Kakashi, you must master the Kyuubi's chakra, as many tails as you can handle. Also you have to master lightning manipulation and learn as many diversions as possible, including mastering the Rasengan. You do know that it's incomplete, correct? Jiraiya asked candidly. No, I did not know that. Naruto replied. Your father created the Rasengan, an A rank solely on shape manipulation and the application of chakra without hand seals, so it couldn't be copied by the Uchiha. Afterwards, he tried to incorporate nature manipulation into the attack and never completed it before his death. If possible, I would like you to create your own devastating technique and master a secret technique left in your scroll. It can only be opened using your blood and your blood only. Jiraiya explained. Why is that? Naruto asked. It's a scroll left by your father, Yondaime. I have no idea as to its contents. Jiraiya replied. If the boy was surprised he didn't show it, he remained apathetic. Hi. Jiraiya turned to a vault and bit his thumb, bloodying it, before smearing it across the seal written across the opening. There was a cloud of smoke before it suddenly opened, revealing several scrolls inside. Pulling all of them out, he turned to the members of Team 7 and handed everyone their scroll. Kiba, you also have a task at hand. Seeing as how you mastered all 3 techniques Kakashi showed you, your task is to become a master at wind manipulation till it becomes second nature to you. By the time you Genin leave, I want all of you to become at least B rank for the mission you will partake in, except you Kiba. Ultimately, it's too dangerous for you. Jiraiya spoke softly, not wanting to hurt the Genin's feelings. Kiba nodded his understanding, but didn't speak. If no one else has anything to say, are you ready? Jiraiya asked. Are you sure this is gonna work? Sasuke cut in, his face remaining apathetic. No, I'm not. I've studied the seals for years, and the end result I've come up with is that either it works or absolutely nothing happens. If the latter happens, we're eat. Jiraiya replied candidly. No one else spoke. Though Naruto did give the ex-Anbu member a wary glance. Do I make you uneasy, seeing as how I used to be an Anbu Black Op member? Yamato asked bluntly. Neon locked in with Brown. Yeah, you kinda do. Naruto replied. Yamato gave him what was supposed to be a genuine smile, only furthering Naruto's discomfort. Jiraiya amidst all this swiped his bloody thumb across the scroll before going through a sequence of hand seals. He didn't call out any technique, instead merely forced as much chakra as he could muster into the scroll. The kanji began running wild before forming a perimeter around the crew. Jiraiya backed away from it so he didn't get caught in it. A litany of seals began running up Naruto's leg and into his mouth, nearly forcing him to scream in anger. There was no true pain, simply raw discomfort to the fullest. Naruto opened his bleary eyes and saw the same was happening to the other 5. It's like some sort of reverse summoning technique. Jiraiya pointed out, and suddenly there was a loud burst as smoke burst through the seals and scrolls, and suddenly the 6 shinobi vanished. Okay, that wasn't cool. Jiraiya said, laughing. There was a loud crack and the same 6 shinobi appeared elsewhere. The sight that awaited them was nerve-wracking, it appeared to be an endless stream of white. The space was white, the floor on which they stood on was white. The only thing with color was them and a large mansion off to the side. There was someone standing in the front, his aura coming off of him in waves. He was powerful, whoever was on the other end, stronger than all of them combined. The ragtag group of shinobi walked forward towards the powerful stranger, who looked at them curiously through hypnotic eyes, with rings upon rings inside them. Whatever his freaky eyes were, they were definitely some sort of. Who are you people? The stranger asked them. He was tall, a few inches short of 7 feet, around 6 feet, 6 inches or so with a spiky mane of black hair, spiked around him like an even crown. He was dressed in simple garments, a black hakama and black jettas. We are from Konoha. The god Ime Hokage sent us here to train for some time. Kakashi spoke, sliding into the leadership role with little difficulty. Why are you training so hard? The stranger asked. There's a group, a faction of some sort who want to collect all 9 and use them to start a worldwide war. We are training as hard as we can to prevent that from happening. Kakashi replied, and even Naruto trembled at the man's sheer power. It was quite frightening. It felt as if he were paralyzed, completely rooted to the stop, and the man hadn't even used killer intent. The Akatsuki? Yes, I know of that organization. The stranger replied. I grant you access to this place, the Chamber of Time and Requirement. I, after all, built it. As you know, a year here is only an hour back in the parallel universe from which you came. I must depart now, I have matters to attend to myself. The stranger replied. Who are you? Naruto dared to ask. The man swiveled his eyes to Naruto, and his mesmerizing gaze perturbed him. He smiled openly, canines bared. You, my boy, will find out one way or another, it is not the last time you shall see me. The stranger boomed out, and suddenly there was a rushing sound as the black-haired stranger imploded upon himself and disappeared. Okay, who was that? Yujito asked. I have no idea, nor do I ever want to find out. Yamada replied, visibly shaken. Everyone agreed to that. After that odd exchange, they headed into the mansion. Inside the mansion was crazy, nothing could prepare Naruto for what was inside there. There appeared to be a room for everything, a room stacked with ninja weaponry, a kitchen, beds, pools. It seemed as if each room had something for one of the shinobi there. It even had a library full of Icha and other hentai novels, leaving Kakashi passed out from a nosebleed minutes after appearing. Afterwards, Kakashi ordered them to eat and rest because the next 2 years would be nothing but training. The 3 genin ran away, not having needed to be told twice. They all headed towards the kitchen and ate to the heart's desire. There was hot ramen and rice noodle soup for Sasuke and Naruto. There were steaks and an assortment of meats for Kiba and Yujito. After they ate, they all headed down to the warm pool after changing into a pair of shorts and hopping in, finding the water quite delightful. Do you think you're going to die? Kiba asked randomly as they swam in the water. Wow, great conversation starter skills, Kiba. I can almost imagine you hitting on women with those legendary quips. Hey baby, you mind if I jizz on your back because that ass is too pretty to ruin? Sasuke mocked the feral teen. Fuck you, malicious. I'm just saying, I'm scared for you guys and I'm not even going on the damn thing. Kiba admitted, giving Sasuke a hard glare. I'm scared of Kiba. I'm scared shitless because we all know it's a setup because I might see Uchiha Itachi again and have no idea what ground we stand on. I'm scared because even if I leave here as a 15-year-old, we'll never know if it's enough to beat these guys. Or better yet, I'm scared because I have to tap into the Kyuubi's power and God knows I don't want to be associated with the furry nut. Naruto replied evenly. I'm not scared, I can't afford to be. Yujito spoke, opening her mouth for the first time. Whatever, Yugi-chan, you're just as scared as all of us. Naruto replied, much to the Kunoichi's irritation. Not really, Naru-kun. She cooed. I've already killed plenty of people, strong people. It makes no difference to me. She bit off bitterly. So have I, well okay, I've only killed 3 people. But what I think you're too scared to admit is that you're frightened, for one main reason. Naruto shot back. Really, and why's that? Yujito asked, a smug look on her face. Because in all we've done, we've always been the predator. We were killed in self-defense or even carrying out the mission for our village, but when have we been hunted down like animals? Rather than the predator, you've become the prey and you don't like that, Yujito-chan, do you? Naruto baited. She was quiet for a moment. Stop calling me that. Yeah, okay, I'm a little nervous. But why are you scared? You've been hunted like some wild animal all your life, Naruto-kun. She shot back and cringed seeing the wounded look in his eyes. The room was awfully quiet. Awkward. You're right, I have. Back then it was drunk civilians and some run-of-the-mill ninja. This time, we're taking on the most powerful shinobi in the great nations, so I'm sorry if we weirdos out. Naruto spat out, a snarl rising to his whiskered face. Rather than continue the argument, the 13-year-old stood and walked out of the pool, not stopping to look back. Great, now you pissed him off. Sasuke spoke, clearly annoyed. Fuck him. Yujito replied to Sasuke bitterly. I wish you would, maybe he'd stop being so angsty. Kiba replied. The glare he received was so not worth that comment. Yujito left minutes later to go shower. Kiba was dozing off, not really paying Sasuke any attention, leaving the black-haired boy alone in his thoughts. Uchiha Itachi. What have you been up to these last few years, Ensan? Have you been training as hard as I am, or are you merely waiting for me to be strong, so you can die at my hands like you so hard tried pushing me into doing? Why did you kill them? Mother. Father. A broken 7-year-old Uchiha demanded, crouch over the body of his parents. Why did you kill them all? Answer me, Ensan. Sasuke demanded. To test the limits of my abilities. Itachi replied dispassionately. That's it. Sasuke demanded, standing up to his feet. You killed them to test your capabilities. He asked angrily, balling up his tiny hands. Itachi gave no reply, merely gazed at Sasuke with his guilty blood-red Mangekyou Sharingan. The three-sided pinwheel hypnotizing Sasuke even at that moment. You monster. Sasuke cried out, charging at his brother with all the energy he could muster before throwing a punch. It was inconsequential because before Sasuke could hit his brother's fist was buried deeply in his gut, knocking the air out of him cleanly. Sasuke dropped to the floor face first, his glazed eyes falling onto the body of his dead parents, their spilt blood running across the floor like vintage wine, the metallic smell of the departure nearly enough to send Sasuke into a gore-induced vomit. The hypnotizing pinwheels claimed him, and Sasuke screamed, staring into those blood-filled eyes. Why couldn't you have told me the truth? Even now, having been told the truth by Naruto-kun, I still hate you. Part of me still wants you to suffer, part of me wants you dead, Itachi. Yet part of me wants to save you from that lonely existence you had to live, from that miserable excuse of an existence the village handed to you. What do I do, Itachi? Do I kill you and redeem the blood of our elders that stained Konoha to this day? Or do I save you from saving Naruto on that sad day? But you deserve to live after all you've done. But better yet, you deserve to die. Naruto lay in his bed, fuming. Dating cunt. God, she pissed him off. Throwing all that shit in his face about him being hunted down. There was a downside to her having seen his memories and that connection. A connection he still didn't truly understand. Why had he attempted to perform Tsukiyomi on her that day? It troubled him deeply. Mainly because he avoided having bonds with people, since people tend to let you down more often than not. He only really cared about Sandaime, Kakashi, Sasuke, and now Kiba. That's it, he had associates and people he didn't want to die, and lastly there were the people he either hated or just didn't care if they lived or died. But this connection between the two, it wasn't forcing him to care for her. But it was making him understand her, empathize with her. And that's what he didn't want. He didn't want to feel sorry for her, it was bad enough that he was excitingly attracted to her, the empathy only enhancing and enforcing what he already felt. But what really sucked above all that was that she could read him like an open book and then use it against him. He liked being mysterious, a total enigma to the population, but she understood him in ways that even his best friend Sasuke couldn't and then used that knowledge to hurt him, even if it was unintentional. He felt her soothing presence nearby, she must be standing right outside his door as he contemplated her. Come in, Yujito. He ordered, not bothering with honorifics or politeness. She swayed into the room before meeting his eyes. I'm sorry. She began, walking over to his bed before sitting at the edge of him, giving him a sorrowful look. I don't give a shit either way. Naruto shot back, daring her to hurt him again. You know you make apologizing really hard, Naruto-kun. She whispered. This is my care face, notice how it looks exactly like my I don't care face. You know why that is, Yujito. Shut up. She growled out, baring her fangs at him. He did for the moment. I've never really had attachments. I never knew my mother or my father. All I know is battle. Kinda like you. Now I'm stuck here in a foreign land, about to fight my own people. I'm about to take on some really powerful criminals who want what I have sealed away. I'm scared shitless, and above all that, I have some inane desire to make you feel better. To let you know that life does suck, but that it gets better with time. I want to be your friend. I want you, period. Yujito confessed. Naruto's eyes got wide with her admission. And it's not because of the connection now. Would I have noticed you if we weren't connected? Probably not. But after spending time with you and seeing you in a different light, I came to really care about you. I'm not going to tell you I love you, because I don't. But I do feel something. Yujito whispered before climbing over to him. Naruto gave her a wide-eyed stare as she slid on top of him, her bare legs smooth to the touch as she leaned in. Naruto wanted her so bad, he could admit that. Could he change it though? Could he give in knowing full well that she could turn it against him later on? Her arousal tickled his nose and he knew no more. Grabbing her by the back of her neck, he pulled her flush against him and their lips pressed against each other. It felt like a spark of electricity and excitement was lit inside of them as they fell back on the bed with her on top of him. Her lips were moist and soft to the touch, her tongue was invasive, not giving him time to react as it darted inside his mouth, tasting him, taking him. He was so far gone. He melted beneath her lips, quivering as if it were he that had the vagina. He didn't love her. But oh god did he want her. His hands reached out, seeking for the bare flesh she revealed to him in all her glory. His soft hands found her bare arms, stroking them softly with each digit. She cooed and moaned in his mouth, the scent of her arousal only stronger, blinding him, the connection between them only becoming stronger. God, I needed this. Naruto admitted blindly. She moaned a reply, and he pulled away from her lips to taste her flesh, his lips finding the crook of her neck, his lips and tongue suckling. His teeth nipped at the hollow of her throat and Yujiro convulsed uncontrollably in her pleasure, then agony as her nails grew into curved hooks, her animalistic side taking over. "I want you so bad, Yujiro," Naruto confessed, his tongue lapping at her throat before his lips claimed hers once again. His fingers left her arms and found her bare legs, soothing her as his digits skimmed over the back of her thighs. The world that both of them knew had changed. And it would never, ever be the same again. Naruto woke up first the next morning to find that someone else was in his bed, naked, very naked and pressed up against him. This was a first anyway, he had thought it had been all a dream, but it was real, very real. He lowered his gaze to the naked Kunoichi next to him, the oh so beautiful Yujiro. Kissing her forehead lightly, he rose out of bed and dressed himself quickly in the dark blue pants he had worn and a black tank top with black shinobi sandals. He opted not to wear his 8 and then strode over to the bed to wake up the girl who had complicated his entire life with one kiss. "Wake up," he begged, stroking her bare stomach softly. She still didn't stir, though Naruto felt a rise in his hormones. Trying to get a rise out of the Kunoichi and wake her up as well, Naruto lowered his head down and slid his tongue into her navel, sliding his tongue around the area before dipping the appendage in and clasping his lips around the edge. Her hand suddenly shot up and clasped his hair. "You bastard. You don't play fair, do you?" Yujiro asked, arching her back in ecstasy. "No, but neither do you. You were awake for quite some time now," Naruto revealed, rolling his eyes at her. "So you knew?" Yujiro asked, smiling. "Kinda," Naruto admitted. "I was watching you change, very nice." Yujiro replied, forcing the younger genin to blush. "Shut up," Naruto growled out. "Make me," she replied, beckoning him to the bed. He climbed in with her and pressed his lips to hers. "We gotta go, the others will suspect something," Naruto begged, but she had already begun sucking on his lower lip, her nails raking across his chest. "Fine," she said with a pout before shooting him out of the room. Naruto, ready to train, headed down to the kitchen and grabbed a quick bite to eat. He looked outside and saw Kiba and Sasuke were meditating, presumably waiting for Kakashi and Yamato to show up. Running out to his close friends and comrades, the blonde teen sat down and pretended to meditate, as if he'd been there the whole time. Yujiro strode out 15 minutes later and their senseis still hadn't shown up. An hour passed and nothing had happened. Irritated and annoyed, Naruto left the circle and walked away for a few minutes. He grabbed a scroll Jiraiya had given him and set it on the floor. Biting his thumb and swiping it across the parchment and burst open and revealed what's underneath. "Naruto-kun, please don't hate me. I know I'm a bastard for asking for that, considering I just sealed a huge furry bastard called the Kyuubi into a newborn baby, who was you. I'm sorry for that, but I felt like I had no choice. There was no other way for Konoha to defeat such a malevolent being like the Kyuubi, so I passed the burden on to you, my son. Perhaps it wasn't the smartest choice, or even the one that benefits you the best, but Konoha is our home, and I love it more than most things in the world besides you and Kushina-chan. Don't ever doubt I loved you, son, I truly did, despite my flaws, I loved you. But I had to make a choice, one that others couldn't make because that's what Bai no Kage is about. Hopefully, the village treats you for the hero you are and not the demon you carry. If not, don't let them get to you. You are not the Kyuubi, you're what stops it from taking any more lives. Live your life, hopefully you become a Hokage like your old man, but if not I understand. Like I said, don't ever doubt I loved you, son. Namikaze Minato, Yondaime Hokage, leading shinobi of Konohagakure." After the letter, there were numerous seals written across the scroll. Naruto swiped his bloody thumb across another one, and after a burst of light, there were 2 tri-pronged kunai with some paper seal wrapped around the handle. This must be the Hiraishin kunai, Naruto thought. Sealing the kunai back into the scroll with a bit of chakra, he swiped his bloody thumb across the next seal. Another scroll popped up from it and immediately he recognized the handwriting as his father's. It was general instructions on how to master the Rasengan. Naruto had gotten to the 3rd stage and could form a perfect Rasengan, but it took him both hands to do it. Standing back, he held out his right arm and began powering up his chakra. Immediately blue chakra began to swirl around in the center of his hand, forming a rough sphere of chakra. Using his left hand, he rotated the chakra inside the sphere, the swirling vortex of blue unstable when he stopped using his left, the Rasengan shimmered for a second before imploding, knocking Naruto back a couple of feet. "Naruto!" Kakashi called out, shunshining in front of the 3 shinobi meditating. Naruto immediately vanished in a swirl of leaves and appeared over there. "Good job, Naruto, you got the idea of the first exercise." Kakashi clapped the genin on the back before ruffling his hair. "What was the idea?" Kiba asked timidly, and Kakashi got his serious face on. "You and Sasuke have been meditating for 2 hours waiting for us to appear. Why? Why did you not train by yourself? We are here to train and get stronger, not to waste time meditating. We will be here for 2 years, 2 long years trying to get you wet behind the ears and to face off A-ranked and above shinobi. I want you to diet on exercises, I want you to train in your sleep, and I want you to shit out chakra. Kakashi spat out snarling. I want you to piss out, I want you to make love to torture, make out with pain, and Naruto and Yujito, I want you to have orgasms of yaokai. Shit out chakra? Naruto asked hesitantly. Shut up, you get my point. We're not always going to be here for you. You have to learn how to get stronger by yourself. Now let's begin. Kakashi ordered. Perhaps Naruto would never truly understand relationships. Or perhaps Kiba would never become an S-ranked wind user, or perhaps Sasuke would never forgive Itachi after all. Perhaps Yujito would never really care about Naruto without the connection that was formed by a misused Tsukuyomi. But all they knew was that their world had changed and that they would leave this stronger, better shinobi. Perhaps they stood a chance after all. Chapter 12. Red Dawn in the Bloody Sands. So what's next between us? Yujito asked calmly, her dark eyes boring into Uzumaki Naruto's. Naruto gritted his teeth, he had been blatantly avoiding that question since last night. They had shared something marvelous, something no other woman would ever have. Though they didn't sleep with each other, the lust-filled kisses, the intense passion and desire, would haunt Naruto's memories. The echoes of her moans, the soft timbre of her squeals as he pleasured her with his fingertips. It couldn't be forgotten, even though he kind of regretted it right now. Right now, I really can't promise anything. Naruto replied, avoiding her scathing gaze. Why is that? After what we shared, you don't have anything to do with me now. Why Naruto? Yujito demanded, and tears sprung to her eyes unwillingly. His throat clenched up and he swallowed the sob that threatened to come out. He clenched up his eyes in frustration as tears threatened to come out. You just don't get it. He gritted out, his teeth bared. Tell me, just what don't I get? Yujito asked, annoyed. He really was starting to get on her nerves with his bipolar act. We might all die. All of us. We've been training, but what if it's not enough? What if we die? Naruto spat out, his whiskers darkening on his cheeks. Then we die. Yujito replied hastily. That's the point. What if I let you in, fall in love with you? And then you die? I've been suffering from loneliness most of my life and I only truly care about a few. I don't want to lose any of them because losing them is the same as losing myself. I'm only alive and here because of them. Naruto replied. Maybe you're right, but then again, maybe you're just a coward. Stop bitching about the past, it sucked, but now you can change it. Fate is but what we make. I don't plan on dying to the Akatsuki, no matter how strong they are, even the strongest have their weaknesses. If you just wallow around in self-pity and shut me out and what we could have, you will die to the Akatsuki. Savor your bonds, enjoy your life, because as a shinobi, every day you're tempting death. Yujito replied. Maybe I am scared. But I can't afford to lose anyone special to me, I can't let you get too close. And if you can't handle that right now, then we don't have anything more to talk about. Naruto bit off angrily. Yujito furrowed her eyebrows and grabbed the shinobi as he turned to leave. Pulling him flush against her, she glared at him. You don't get off that easy, Naruto. I'm scared too, and I need you to tell me it's going to be alright. If you don't. Naruto now understood better. She wasn't condemning him for being scared and wary of losing a loved one. She needed him to conform her, she needed him to tell everything was going to be okay because she was scared out of her wits as well. How could he have been so oblivious? I'm sorry Yujito-chan. He stammered out before clumsily claiming her lips with his. Don't leave me, I need you now more than ever. Yujito replied, wrapping her arms around his back, bruising his lips with her need. I don't know what's going to happen between us, I can't promise anything. But I'll try, even if I might lose you, I'll try. Naruto spoke, responding to her touches with fervor. Suddenly it felt like he was being sucked into something vacuum-like, his stomach churned and the world faded away, and suddenly he was in front of the cage sealing away the Kyuubi no Yoko. Don't you see I'm busy? Naruto snapped waspishly at the bars. Having fun, boy. Perhaps you are not as pathetic and angst-ridden as I thought. The Kyuubi mused, laughing from behind the bars. I'm not baka. I'm going to do things my way now. And you're going to do something for me in return. Naruto replied, his lips curling into a smirk, accentuated by the whisker-like birthmarks on his cheeks. What makes you think I'm going to do anything for you, silly monkey? Kyuubi shot back, his voice booming and echoing in the small mindscape. Because, you want me to continue this relationship with the vessel of the Nibi no Nekomata, right? Naruto asked, the smirk still apparent. Kyuubi didn't return the smile. His eyes narrowed and glared at the 13-year-old. Right, make your point, you filthy flesh bag. It is my desire for you to continue the mating process. I need access to your chakra, all of it without interruption and without having to ask for it. If you want me to continue this little fling with Yujito-chan, you have to comply with my wishes. Failure to do so and I will kill my heart and leave her, if only to hurt you, team. Naruto replied. Kyuubi's eyes burned bright, the flames of hell burning behind his eyes. Without warning, the nine-tailed demon leapt into the cage, rattling it. Kyuubi roared in anger, his hot breath rolling over Naruto in waves. "You filthy monkey. When I get out, I'm going to make you suffer. You will pay for your insubordination. Do you hear me? You will pay." Kyuubi bellowed. Naruto didn't scare easily. Instead, his neon eyes melted into blood colored with a spinning, three-sided pinwheel. Manjukyu Sharingan. Naruto whispered as he focused chakra to his eyes. Glaring at the Kyuubi with more intensity than should be able to muster for a 13-year-old, he spat out, "You will obey me, Kyuubi. Whether you like it or not, I'm in charge, and until the day you do get out, you listen to me because it's in your best options to do so. If you happen to get out, I will lock you away where no one will find you, so until that day, shut them up and do as I say." Naruto shot back, the pinwheels spinning simultaneously. "Fine Naruto, I will bestow my power to you for now. But when I do leave this place, you will pay, and your foe Manjukyu Sharingan cannot change that." Kyuubi murmured. "What part of shutting up didn't you understand?" "I'm going now," Naruto replied, before disappearing from the cage. He reappeared mentally in front of Yujito, who had a worried look on her face. "Are you okay?" "You kinda spaced out for a second," Yujito asked, kissing the blonde's forehead. "I'm good, are you ready to train?" Naruto asked, and the two blondes backed up before launching at each other in another spar. "Icha," Kakashi thought to himself, before giggling aloud. For days, he dreamed about reading the next Icha book that came out the day he left his normal life to come here, to this white void called the Chamber of Time and Requirement. He as a sensei couldn't be prouder of his students, or even herself. They had been here for 3 months so far, and their improvements were ridiculous. He smirked, though it was hidden by his mask. Kiba had mastered all of his known clan, and his bond to Akamaru was a force to be reckoned with. While training solitary, he had training hard with Kakashi in, after acquiring a katana, then mastered Kamitachi no Jutsu, using wind chakra to devastate his opponents, using the katana as a medium. He had also mastered Futen, Rinkuden and Futen. To top a fairly easily, a lot easier than the others were having with nature manipulation. Lastly, he was developing a technique called Futen Kami Arashi, but it was nowhere near complete. Sasuke on the other hand only mastered 3 so far. Despite his Uchiha blood running through his veins giving him preternatural ease with using Kaiten techniques, the sheer power Sasuke was putting into them had taken a bit to master. He had learned the Kaiten Enden with ease as well as the Kaiten Honka. Kakashi tried to teach him Kiryu Enden after accidentally copying it from Sarutobi's arsenal, but Sasuke stumbled for a bit on that, though it was a good thing based on results. Sasuke's Kiryu Enden was easily an A-ranked, the flamethrower he spewed from his mouth burned a bluish-white and was so intense even Kakashi couldn't stand to be around Sasuke when he used it. Naruto on the other hand hadn't focused on learning techniques, though his visuals were a lot better. Instead he focused on being able to use the Kyuubi's power. Prior to their submission, Naruto never really used the Kyuubi's chakra other than for short spurts. Currently he could use up to 2 tails worth of the Kyuubi's chakra, though it wasn't safe to stay longer than 5 minutes in his 2-tailed state. At the 1-tailed mark, Naruto would be hunched over on all fours like an actual fox, surrounded by a burning cloak of red chakra. His whiskers darkened heavily and his hair turned into heavy tufts of blonde, spiking out more than ever. His speed and power increased heavily and he didn't suffer too much from the use. In his 2-tailed state though, Naruto's eyes were burning rubies with an unnatural black slit running down the middle of the iris. His whiskers darkened more and his power increased. The only problem with his 2-tailed mode is that Naruto would develop Kyuubi-like instincts and after 5 minutes the chakra overwhelmed him and he couldn't differentiate between friend or foe. Thank Kami for Yamato, Kakashi thought. Yamato simply was the only thing short of Jiraiya suppressing seals that would cause the vile chakra to return to its prison of flesh. "Why am I not good at lightning releases?" Naruto demanded, looking very much like an impetuous 13-year-old. Kakashi looked up from the smut that passed off for a book and gave Naruto a patented eye smile. He knew Naruto thought it was creepy. "Simply put, you have too much chakra. Well, you have good control, the chakra is so dense that it will be unavailable to you. Lightning is fast and powerful, but it requires such subtle fitness and control that even most Kumo shinobi don't truly master it. So until you can completely control your chakra, perhaps it's best to continue training with the Rasengan to improve your chakra control, as well as create a new Raiten by mimicking the Chidori. Hopefully by the time we're done here, lightning manipulation will become second nature to you." Kakashi spoke gently. "Is it possible to have more than one elemental nature?" Naruto asked quizzically. "It's possible but most people are strong at that before attempting that. But don't even think about that until you've gotten lightning already mastered," Kakashi replied. Naruto disappeared via Shunshin and continued his training. Kakashi smiled genuinely as he vanished from sight. Though he couldn't help but wonder how much stronger Naruto could have been if he had been there from the start. Then again maybe he would have been weaker and Sharinganless. Kakashi was a man who had lost a lot. His best friend Obito, his first love Rin, his sensei Minato, his father Tsukumo, and his mother who he never knew. One thing he gained out of all those losses was that it wasn't good to dwell on the past or the what-ifs, but rather strive for a better future. Even though Naruto had mastered the Rasengan, elemental composition of lightning, a ton of lightning jutsu some of his own creation, he still couldn't combine the Rasengan with lightning chakra. He had even finished mastering wind chakra, much to Kakashi and Kiba's surprise. His mastery of wind was second to Kiba after a full year had passed in the Chamber of Time and Requirement. Using Kage Bunshin he cut the training short to 1 full month, developing an S-rank technique called the Futon. Rasengan and the SS-ranked Futon. Rasen Shuriken. But yet he couldn't manage to do that with the lightning chakra. Worst yet was that he couldn't even use his SS-rank technique due to the damage it did to his chakra system. Wind chakra in his Rasengan was apparently a double-edged sword. Imbuing his elemental chakra with his father's technique was hard enough, but with thousands of wind chakra needles being spiraled so unstably, the wind chakra would also tear into his skin, past the superficial tissue and into his, damaging them. The only way he could bypass that effect would be to throw the spiraling shuriken before the wind chakra could do any damage. But each time he tried it dispersed after capsizing. "What's wrong, Dobe?" Sasuke appeared, a small smile on his face. "Is it?" Sasuke added. Naruto frowned at the raven-haired Uchiha. "No, she's perfect." Naruto refused sullenly. "She's not giving it up or something. You're all strung up like you've been blue-balled." Sasuke shot back. Naruto frowned at his best friend. Both 14-year-olds were virgins, but Sasuke began reading Kakashi's Icha, and a whole new perverted side began developing that only Naruto had seen. Sasuke claiming to be taking a shit when really masturbating was one of the more embarrassing antics Naruto had accidentally seen. "At least I actually have a girl, Yuke." Naruto teased belligerently, grinning from ear to ear. "You got lucky. You contrived her into liking you with that connection of yours." Sasuke shot back. Naruto laughed, a sound reminiscent of a younger him. "I'm frustrated by lightning manipulation in the Rasengan. It's been a year and still no luck." Naruto answered truthfully. "Tell me about it, maybe I can help." Sasuke offered. "I can shape the lightning and the Rasengan, but not at the same time. It's like trying to look left and right at the same time." Naruto replied. "You're so dense. I can't believe you haven't figured it out." Sasuke replied after he pondered it for a few seconds. "You tell me Uchiha is a genius." Naruto replied back sarcastically. "Let's have a trade of sorts. If this works you have to teach me the Chidori and help me work on it. If it doesn't, neither of us gains anything." Sasuke offered. Naruto pondered it for a second. "Fine, but only because you'd end up copying them anyway." Naruto replied. "Kage Bunshin." Sasuke spoke dramatically after a few seconds. "Huh? I've been using Kage Bunshins to train and it still hasn't worked." Naruto replied. "No, listen, you described it as looking left and right at the same time, right? What if you used a Kage Bunshin to help you form the lightning chakra while you—" "That could work." Naruto interrupted him emphatically. Forming a half-seal, he willfully summoned a Kage Bunshin into existence silently. "Damn, you're getting better with the Bunshin." Sasuke commented. "That isn't nothing, wait till I get the quirks done on my Konohara Bunshin no Jutsu." Naruto spoke. The summoned clone looked at the original. "What do you need, Oyabun?" The clone spoke. "I need you to help me by adding lightning chakra to my Rasengan." Naruto spoke. Holding his arm outstretched, hand open, he began summoning chakra focusing on an invisible single point in the center of his hand, watching with glee as a swirl of blue began to take the shape of a sphere. The chakra continued to swirl unstably, forming a vortex solely held back by a sphere of chakra. "Now." Naruto commanded. The clone leapt into action and began to summon lightning chakra to his hands as he held it over the Rasengan in the original's hands. There was a screeching sound and the lightning chakra made the Rasengan hot mini lightning storms inside the sphere of chakra before a ring of chakra surrounded the sphere like the rings of Saturn. The clone backed off upon the attack's completion, but not far enough as Naruto decided to test the attack on his own clone. Rushing forward, there was a sickening screech, sounding like 1,000 dying birds, the ring surrounding the Rasengan spinning wildly, shocking Naruto himself. There was a feeling of being sucked into a vacuum, similar to his Chidori and Nami, and suddenly he rammed the Rasengan into his clone, grinding it into his as the sphere exploded uncontrollably into a wave of lightning chakra that blew out of the clone's back before it exploded into a cloud of smoke. "Good thing I gave him extra chakra." Naruto duly noted. Sasuke looked at his best friend in shock, that last attack had easily been a high-ranked borderline S-rank technique. The Rasengan had a ring of lightning chakra surrounding the technique to deter any incoming opponent's attempt to disrupt it before the sphere of chakra connected, grinding and electrocuting the opponent. Finally, the sphere imploded, blowing a hole through the target, releasing lightning chakra on the way out. All in all, it was an awesome technique with room for improvement. That's a pretty devastating technique. Sasuke complimented. But not enough. Naruto replied, summoning more clones. The screeching sound of the Raiden. Rasengan continued for another hour, Naruto refusing to stop training. Yujito looked at her boyfriend from her peripherals, he inspired her by his relentless training. She liked that he refused to give up, like right now he was trying to master the last he had to master. She didn't even know what it was, he refused to let anyone see it until it was perfect, but she did catch him drawing seals for the last couple months, as he practiced his. Not that Yujito slacked off and stared at Naruto. Without the Yokai, she was the strongest in the whole group as long as Sasuke and Kakashi didn't use the Sharingan. That was the only edge those two had, but the Sharingan wasn't enough to save Naruto, she beat him constantly in spars, though it was always close battles. Even Kiba had surprised her with his sheer power, though he was about as strong as Naruto, he didn't have the advantage of Naruto's Yokai or vast arsenal of highly destructive or whatever Naruto was working on. Kiba was easily on the same level as Naruto. Sasuke, Yamato and Yujito were elite level, while Kakashi was borderline Kage level. Both Naruto and Yujito in their two-tailed states were easily Sannin level, and Naruto in his four-tailed state was Kage level, if not beyond. Their training was nearly complete, they had actually stuck around for 2.5 years to train at Naruto's request, so he could complete something he was working on. Several days passed and finally Naruto walked up to the group at their makeshift quarters. They had stopped training and were merely waiting for Naruto to finish. "I'm done," he exclaimed, completely out of breath and sweaty. "What were you working on for the last year?" Kakashi asked the 15-year-old. DSK. A ninja never reveals his secrets unless necessary. Naruto quotes. Kakashi gave him a creepy eye smile. "Roger, are you ready to head back to Naruto?" The 29-year-old asked. "Yeah, let me shower up and get changed, I don't want to go back to Konoha all smelly." Naruto replied. Heading over to the baths, he looked over his shoulder and looked at his girlfriend, "You coming?" Yujito smiled before running to catch up to Kyuubi's vessel. Jiraiya smiled, already missing his godson. He hated the fact that Iwasho Kage and didn't get to spend time with him because he really did want to make up for the last few years that he wasn't here. There was no true excuse he could offer for his absence, but he hoped to make a better future. A world full of peace where there was no hate or suffering. Before he could even blink, the scroll that was laid out on the deck in front of him, leading to the Chamber of Time and Requirement was set ablaze, then exploded into smoke, and suddenly he was no longer alone in the room. As soon as the smoke cleared, he looked at the people in front of him, some looked the same as they had when they left 2 seconds ago, but the genin that had left had returned grown men and women. Kakashi and Tenzu were in the same uniforms that they had left in, the standard black outfit with green vest. Kiba, though, had on loose black pants, with the ends bloused with bandages and standard black shinobi sandals. He had on a chainmail shirt with a black collared jacket covering it up. A long katana was in its scabbard, with a strap around his chest. The small puppy was no more either, instead there was a horse-sized dog in its place. Seeing the Hokage's eyes lingering over his frame, Kiba saluted. "Inyazuka Kiba returning for duty Hokage-sama." Jiraiya nodded. Looking at Sasuke, the duck-headed Uchiha looked vastly older and held an aura of power surrounding him. He had on black pants, with a black guy shirt that had an extended V-neck to the middle of his chest. A blue sash was wrapped around his waist, with a kodachi in its scabbard. The baggy pants were tapered with bandages, and he had on black shinobi sandals as well, with his 8 wrapped securely around his forehead. Then there was Yujito, who was a bombshell in her own right. If Jiraiya hadn't known she was just 16, he probably would have drooled all over himself and offered her a lot of money to get between her thighs. She was in a tight spandex bodysuit with a gold Anbu-style chest plate. Rather than sandals, she had golden leg warmers with black combat boots. Lastly was his godson, and Jiraiya couldn't stop looking at him in a non-homo-ish manner. He looked more like his father than ever, his blonde, spiky hair was wilder than ever, with no weight to hold it in place, was spiked out everywhere. He had tied the back end of his hair in a small ponytail, and his whiskers were less pronounced, giving him an almost normal look. He had on black baggy pants as well, like his friends, tapered with bandages, tucked into his black sandals. But that's where the semblance ended, he had a black undershirt with a black high-collared short-sleeved cloak. In blazing red kanji in the back was Oni no Konoha, Demon of Konoha. "You look different from Naruto." Jiraiya commented, his eyes wanted to tear up at the sight of him. "Hi Hokage-sama." Naruto replied dully. Apparently some other things had changed about him as well. Jiraiya mused. "Kakashi, please debrief the mission, please." Kakashi nodded, then bowed before speaking. "Hi Hokage-sama. We trained in the chamber for 2.5 years. Upon entrance we ran into an intruder who claimed to have been the creator of the chamber, but he proved to be non-hostile and departed thereafter. I myself am borderline Kage level and extended my repertoire to 1500. Then Yujiro is easily an elite, more than capable and loyal to Konoha, a Taijutsu master, with a few high ranks under her belt. Her ninjutsu repertoire is on par with, though most are Raiden. In her two-tailed state, she can become a miniature Nibi, with cage-level chakra and power. Sasuke is an elite level as well with level chakra, cage level ninjutsu, and cage level, and this is unheard of, bar Uchiha Itachi. Taijutsu is low level, but all in all, he should be able to hold his own against any here in Konoha, except myself and Yujiro in her two-tailed state. He has mastered Kaiten and Raiden, as well as elemental recomposition for both. Biba has mastered the wind element, learned almost all in Konoha's arsenal, and invented some of his own. He is easily a low-level shinobi, but angers easily, so I'd give him just a promotion. Naruto as well should be held at. Biba and Naruto looked angered at that, but kept their mouths shut. I think they should remain until the completion of this Akatsuki mission, at least in Naruto's case. Naruto without the Kyuubi is easily a low if not higher. He has mastered a few Raiden jutsus, as well as Genjutsus and Dojutsus. But he has mastered the Rasengan and can combine two elements separately with the attack. He has invented 4 elemental Rasengan, including 2 SS ranked ones. At the end of the training he also mastered an unknown that he refuses to share with us. Kakashi spoke. Sounds like he should be a Kakashi. Why make him wait? Jiraiya asked. His mentality Hokage-sama. We need to know the extent of damage the Kyuubi might have done to his psyche after you so wisely asked that he master the Kyuubi's chakra, it hurts to say, but it might have corroded the boy's mind. Kakashi shot back, a scowl hidden by his mask. It was known between them that Kakashi did not agree with the Hokage in how he wanted Naruto tutored. Why do you say that? Jiraiya asked. In his 3-tailed mode, Naruto can barely tell the difference between friend or foe, in 4-tailed mode, he cannot. Not to mention with so much yakai running through his system, we do not fully know what it has done to him. Kakashi offered. Naruto visibly scowled. Do you agree with his decision, Naruto-kun? Jiraiya asked. Yes, I agree with Kakashi-san's decision Hokage-sama. Naruto replied coldly, but his tone begged to differ. Okay, here are your mission specs, you have an hour and a half to depart to Sunagakure. Jiraiya began, pulling a scroll out and laying it in front of them. Vegito, you will be the official captain, with Sasuke as your second command. You are to arrive in Suna and debrief with the Kazekage, hopefully before the Akatsuki arrive. If the Akatsuki are already in the midst and fighting in Suna, you are not to openly fight them, but rather get as much info on their weaknesses before attempting a stealth assassination. If that fails, then let's hope your training was worthwhile. Jiraiya ordered calmly, hiding his worry for his blonde godson. Hi Hokage-sama. You are all free to leave, except Naruto. Jiraiya ordered and Naruto blanched, but managed to cover that up. The other shinobi departed in a swirl of leaves via Shunshin until it was just Godfather and Godson in the room. Hoe Kage-sama. Naruto spoke slowly, before kneeling on one knee in front of the older shinobi. Naruto, don't kneel in front of me, it's embarrassing. Jiraiya replied, pulling the younger shinobi to his feet. Please, call me Jiraiya or even Iro-senin, anything but all that formal shit. Jiraiya demanded. Hi, Jiraiya-san. Naruto offered calmly. Nervous? Jiraiya asked. The fifth fire shadow of Konoha watched the emotions fleetingly flicker on the teen's face. Yes. But do not worry, the mission will be executed flawlessly. Naruto retorted. I don't doubt that if you're anything like your father. Jiraiya complimented. Normally Naruto would have been angered and replied with an I'm not. But instead opted to be polite. Thank you. Naruto spoke emotionlessly. Just don't die, Naruto. Give this old man one last chance to get to know you. Jiraiya replied sadly. Give me a chance to make it up to you, just don't die kid. Jiraiya said with a note of finality. Naruto took that as his cue to leave, walking out, but not before looking over his shoulder one last time. I promise. The silver-haired spy stood in front of one of his masters. Pushing his glasses on his face more out of habit than necessity, he looked at the Serpent Sannin with wary caution. I have informed the Akatsuki of Jiraiya's intentions. Not even Itachi could battle the Sandaime and walk unscathed, even in his old age. Kabuto reported, noting the gleam in his Shisui's eyes. The job, Kabuto-kun. I can't believe the old monkey is going to fight again, all to gain one boy's forgiveness. Such foolishness, and to think that without you I would have never known and missed such a wonderful sight. Prepare to depart Kabuto, we will watch from the shadows, and hopefully at the end of this battle, Sarutobi will be dead and I'll have marked one of the Uchiha. Orochimaru spoke silkily. It is a pleasure to serve you. Kabuto replied softly, his adoration for the Sannin growing, despite his pledge to Akasuna no Sasori. I will have the Sharingan and will not settle for less. Orochimaru responded, before letting out a creepy laugh. It seemed as if it were just getting worse for the Konoha ninja. The courier pigeon flew overhead before a black tendril shot through his chest, ripping him from the skies and sending it plummeting to the hard earth down below. The tiny scroll attached to its leg was pulled free from its fleshy prison and opened up. Haiden and Kakuzu, changing of plans, Konoha is sending reinforcements for the Sandaime Hokage and Sharingan no Kakashi, as well as other elite. You two are to head to Sunagakure immediately and help your fellow Akatsuki members. Feel free to collect any bounties on any of the non-Jinchuriki combatants. God has spoken. Pain, that will be a lot of money. A dark eerie voice spoke, belonging to the greedy treasurer of the Akatsuki. His partner was in front of him, head bent low in prayer to his violent deity. After hearing his partner's voice for the first time in an hour, purple eyes opened and the silver-haired Jashinus looked at the treasurer. You interrupted my prayer to Jashin-sama to talk about money, Haiden replied angrily, his purple eyes alit with anger. What have I told you about that dirty heathen? Shut up or I'll kill you. Kakuzu demanded, his eerie green eyes boring into Haiden's. Pain has ordered us to head to Suna and back up Itachi and the others. Kakuzu continued. Fuck them. Haiden spat out. If they can't handle a few weeks Sunin in and two, perhaps they shouldn't be in Akatsuki. Haiden replied, his fingers adoringly caressing the necklace of Jashin. Leader has ordered it so, perhaps I should tell him of your insubordination. Kakuzu offered silkily. You dirty motherfucker. Haiden snapped angrily, his purpler eyes bulging out of his sockets. When the time comes, not even pain will stop Jashin from reaping vengeance for his faithful servant, and on that day Kakuzu will find out who's truly immortal. Returning the glare he was currently receiving, he stood to his feet. Jashin-sama will receive plenty of sacrifices. Let's go, Kakuzu. Haiden ordered, before storming off to placate himself, knowing he had the last word. I will kill him. Haiden thought to himself. You have arrived, it took you long enough. The Sandaime Kazekage spoke to the arriving Konoha shinobi. They were out of breath, seeing as it had taken them a day and some change to make a 3-day trip. Rather than responding right away, they popped a soldier pill to replenish their strength. Tired already, and this is the best Hokage could send, perhaps Konoha is weak after all. The Kazekage continued smugly, and Yujito and Sasuke were tempted to kill him right there. They stood in the Kazekage's elegant courtyard, a view of the sandy village illuminated by the harsh sun and wind. It appears to be quite the opposite, Kazekage-sama. After all, it was you who requested our help, appearing much weaker than Konoha in the process. Naruto replied mockingly as he kneeled on one knee. Watch your tongue boy, for my patience is fleeting as my mercy. The Kazekage snapped. I guess we have something in common then. Naruto responded. Though Yujito was the Taichu of Team 7, they all knew who truly was in charge, despite being the of the group. I just might kill you boy. Not if you're already dead, Kazekage-sama. Naruto replied, smiling as the Kazekage looked ready to attack him. We have received full authority to drop the mission should you prove to be troublesome. We already started allying ourselves with other nations, and if you don't be careful, you might outlive your usefulness, therefore no need for us to be allied to you. Naruto reported, his neon green eyes alight with mirth. But I already paid. The Kazekage stuttered out. And we have your money here with us. If you choose to be a hassle, we'll return your money and leave you to fend off the Akatsuki alone. I am not here to play games or suck up to you, Kazekage-sama. I will not allow you to walk all over our team and do as you please. We are here to fight and fight only, nothing else. So unless you have anything useful to say, I suggest you get a servant to set up our quarters while we wait out the Akatsuki attack. Naruto continued. The Kazekage's eyes burned in anger. This is bullshit, Suna has always helped defend Konoha since our alliance, and you dare threaten us? Sabaku no Urameshi demanded. You have also attacked us, and only after a sound defeat did you join us in an alliance. More to save face than admit defeat. We're not threatening anything, you are. Naruto informed him. Very well. The Kazekage conceded. The Kazekage's kid stood off in the back, watching the group warily. The oldest, Temari if Naruto remembered, was looking at him with something akin to adoration, but he brushed it off. The oldest son Kankuro looked at him with defiance and pride, as if Suna's pride was held on his shoulders. The last Gaara, vessel for the Ichibi no Shikaku, was a creepy little redhead who looked as if he wanted to devour Naruto. Mother wants your blood. Gaara informed him, his hand over his blood-red tattoo on his forehead, stating love. Looks like the boy was lacking a lot of that, but with a father like the Kazekage, it was easy to see why. Shut up. Naruto replied, looking over at Yujito. Yujito smiled at her boyfriend, wanting nothing more than to be in a peaceful Konoha, in his arms telling him how much she cared. Neither had said the special 3 words the whole time of their relationship. Their feelings were so muddled and confusing with their bonds and demonic interference that neither wanted to say it unless they knew they truly meant it. Temari, take them to their quarters. The Kazekage ordered and the blonde shinobi in a white kimono beckoned their attention to follow her. She led them around the courtyard and up some stairs into the Kazekage's palace. On the second to last floor were quarters reserved for guests. How many rooms did you want? Temari asked, blushing as she looked at Naruto. One shall suffice, Temari-san. Naruto replied. It seems you have me at a disadvantage, what's your name, Shinobi-san? Temari asked. Oni no Konoha. Naruto replied waspishly. Demon of Konoha, let me guess, too. She asked, and Naruto and Yujito visibly bristled. What's wrong? She asked, unsure of what she had done. We hate that term. The power of human sacrifice. Naruto said, snorting in disgust. I apologize, Oni-san, I didn't mean to offend. Temari replied hastily, bowing low. It is not your fault, you don't know any better. Naruto spoke softly. Before any more could be said, there was a blare of trumpets. 7 trumpets sounded off one after another. Naruto looked at his team perplexed. We're under attack, the trumpets mean we're under attack. Temari spoke, her eyes hardening as she pulled out a battle fan and prepared to battle off the attackers. I guess it's time. Naruto spoke confidently looking at his team. Itachi? Sasuke whispered before his eyes turned blood red. 3 black commas spun vicariously in blood-red eyes. Their trek to Sunagakure was over, Itachi mused, tossing his straw hat to the side and unbuttoning the top button to his black, high-collared cloak with red clouds appearing ominously. His 3 partners in crime were behind him, well 2 of them anyway. Madara was in the clouds, aboard a clay bird looking for an opening to start an aerial attack. Ashigaki Kisame was smiling crookedly through shark-like razor teeth, holding his beloved Samehada in front of him, ready to shred the flesh of any opponent. The blue-skinned member of the Akatsuki was creepy, though Itachi would never admit it beneath his callous, emotionless facade. Lastly was Sasori, lingering behind them, poison tail arching in the air like a poised scorpion, under his puppet body, making him appear to be a short fat man, with a scorpion tail of course. But it truly made his opponents underestimate his speed, resulting in their deaths, most of the time, unless he was taking on Itachi. Itachi unleashed a fireball that broke through the village's front gate, sending splintering wood flying all over. The platoon of guards came running down and swiftly fell to a single, held kunai of Itachi's as he sped up and slid in between the ranks, slicing throats, looking like an afterimage, blood spewing in the air. Kisame smiled at the carnage before he too swung his Samehada, shredding the flesh of everything it came across. Sasori's poison tail whipped in and out of the remaining platoons, the poisoned shinobi falling. Sasori smiled underneath his wooden exterior, the sands beneath his feet bloody, reminding him of his name, Akasuna no Sasori. Before Kisame could move an inch, there was a black blur and suddenly a fist was rammed into his stomach. Don't move an inch. A blonde powerful shinobi stood in front of them and for a second, they all thought it was the Indama Hokage reincarnated. Sasuke and Yujito appeared behind him, both of them with their kendachis drawn. You look like an older, foolish little brother. Itachi spoke cruelly, appearing behind Sasuke, a kunai at his neck. You look stupider. Sasuke replied, before vanishing into a cloud of smoke, revealing that it had been a Kage Bunshin. The 3-leaf nin squared off in front of their Akatsuki opponents. One's missing. Naruto reported to Sasuke and Yujito. Let the Kazekage deal with it. We'll be busy here. Sasuke spoke, his Sharingan eyes boring into Itachi's. Sasuke stood in front of Itachi, wanting to say so many things, unsure of how he'd react to his Ensan. Naruto stood in front of Kisame, ready to bust out every shark tooth the bastard had, ready to test his mettle with the fabled Akatsuki. Yujito was impassive, arrogant in her stance, going through a set of hand seals as she readied herself to kill the one called Sasori. The 7 trumpets were blown again. Before the doomed musicians exploded in a fiery blaze. Akatsuki was in Sunagakure. Chapter 13. Red tears, black flames. 4 years ago, Sasuke stood there, his onyx eyes catching sight of the blind idiot called Naruto. Currently the boy was being chased by a bunch of the Uchiha military police since the orange-clad prankster had decided to graffiti the Uchiha district, spraying the word douchebags wherever he went. The Uchihas finally caught up to him, one of them being the green-eyed Shisui, and they wrapped him up in metal ninja wire, holding the clown in place. Looking at him in disdain, Sasuke resumed his shuriken practice. He wasn't particularly happy with Naruto either. Naruto had deliberately cut a wide hole in the back of all of Sasuke's shorts. But his day was getting better, he could see his big brother Itachi walking towards him in the distance, a peaceful look to his much too old face. Clad in a black, short-sleeved shirt with the Uchiha fan on the back and grey pants, Itachi didn't look like the cruel prodigy many made him out to look. To Sasuke, it just looked like his Ensan, Itachi. Itachi-en. Sasuke squealed out in happiness, running his still short legs to his brother. Itachi rarely smiled, but seeing him always brought one to his lips. Sasuke-kun. Itachi spoke before poking his brother in the head as he arrived. He really couldn't help himself, he always did it when he saw him, it was his calling card. Sasuke pretended like it bugged him, but it didn't, it just meant that Itachi truly was human beneath the vacant look in his eyes. Ow. You always poke me in the head when I see, big brother. Sasuke complained, a smile lighting his face. Pushing his brother's hand out of the way, he wrapped his arms around his waist and hugged him. Hugging his little brother, Itachi surveyed the area and the current commotion with the blonde known as Naruto. What did he do now? Itachi asked softly. Oh him. He used graffiti to spray some stuff on the district. You know the elders didn't like that, so now he's about to get punished. Sasuke claimed with a gleeful tone. You shouldn't laugh at others' sufferings, Sasuke. It makes you a villain, but joining in the suffering with those that suffer unselfishly, that's what makes you a good person. Itachi revealed, tousling Sasuke's spiky hair. But that boy is always pulling pranks. Why should we sympathize with him? Sasuke asked, arching an eyebrow at his brother. He pulls pranks because as an orphan born on the 10th of October, the village has made him a scapegoat for something that is not his fault. No one gives him attention, love, the very things children thrive on in their childhood. Because of that neglect, he seeks attention, even the bad kind. Itachi spoke softly, a small frown on his face. So the village blames him for being born on the day that the Kyuubi attacked. But it's not his fault. Sasuke said, outraged. I know, it's not fair at all. People don't understand how special he truly is. What they can't understand, they fear, and what they fear, they hate. Such is the simple analogy of the human mind. Itachi responded. Walking up towards the MPs surrounding the boy, Itachi slid in easily and sliced a ninja wire with a kunai. Let the boy go. Itachi commanded effortlessly, his voice sounding tired, even. Shisui didn't like the order one bit and stepped up to Itachi, getting in his face. That's horseshit and you know it. He is on our property, Itachi, pulling pranks, therefore he must be punished. Shisui barked at him. Shut up. Itachi commanded once more, his Sharingan activating. Perhaps if you treated the boy as a boy, rather than something that he isn't to blame for something he doesn't even know exists is what's truly criminal. You reap what you sow, Uchiha's, remember that. Itachi continued, sounding creepy as he was just a 14-year-old boy. Is that a threat? Shisui demanded, activating his own Sharingan. He is just as we claim, the boy is a criminal, nothing more. He is not a boy. Shisui raged on. After all the misguided prejudice the village has shown him, don't you think he would have reacted by now? After the beatings, the near deaths, if he truly is what you claim, the village would have burned down a long time ago. You are the threat, not this boy. Your beliefs in hate only breeds more hate. If the Uchihas were in charge as you so desperately try to be, the village would have been gone a long time ago. Itachi droned on, unwilling to speak any longer. Extending his hand out to the boy, he pulled the 8-year-old up before sending him off, but not without some extra cash to keep him alive, if only for a bit longer. He hurt all over. Perhaps it was the katanas and kunai that he had been running through. Maybe it was the kicks and punches, the fists and elbows that had given him a concussion. Maybe it was the kunai that was slashed across his eyes or the same kunai that had dug into his eyes before gouging them out. To make it worse if such was possible, they pissed on him, taking turns in bathing the 9-year-old in urine. As he lay there, broken, bleeding, and sightless, he heard the sound of soft footsteps as they shimmied towards him, leaves crackling and crunching softly in his wake. Who's there? Naruto called out fearfully, trying to force his body to stand up on its feet. Regrettably, it did not work. Uchiha Itachi, ex-Anbu captain. The soft male voice called out. Anbu? Just like the people who gouged his eyes out. Are you here to hurt me too? Naruto asked, trying to crawl backwards away from his possible attacker. No, I'm not here to hurt you, Naruto-kun. Itachi exclaimed gently. Naruto felt himself being pulled to his feet and a pair of arms wrapping around him in a brotherly embrace. He didn't understand. Who would be hugging him? He was the mayor of Kyuubi no Kitsune after all. Why not? Naruto demanded angrily. Was he so pathetic looking right now that Itachi pitied him? He never had anyone's pity before, he sure as hell didn't need it now. He tried to push away from the person hugging him, but his body was too feeble, too weak to do anything. I'm Kyuubi, I don't deserve to be loved or cared for. I'm not supposed to have dreams like everyone else. Please just kill me, Itachi-san. Naruto begged frantically. Itachi was quiet for a second, as if pondering something. Well, if you're not going to kill me, at least give me a kunai and let me do it myself. Naruto demanded hotly. Anger was his only reaction to cover up his sadness and his depression. It was instinctual, because he was robbed of his dreams to become a ninja and then Hokage. He was a blind, useless orphan that everyone hated and nothing could change that. What's your dream? Itachi asked, releasing him gently. The Hokage, that was my dream. Naruto said sadly, now all I want to do is protect myself, but I'm blind. How am I supposed to defeat what I can't see? I can't even become a shinobi now, that's all I wanted, to become a shinobi that made its village proud. Naruto said, sniveling once more as he hung his head down in defeat. There was a soft rustling sound, as if Itachi was looking for something. Naruto-kun, I'm going to give you your eyesight back, this might hurt a little. Itachi confessed. There was a dull ache where his eyes used to be as something was being pushed inside of them, the pressure and the ache so agonizing, Naruto almost couldn't bear it. Then some type of energy washed over his face, making him feel good, though forcing him to clench his eyes shut. "Can you see now?" Itachi asked. Naruto opened his eyes, expecting to see nothing but darkness as he had for the last few minutes, but instead he saw Itachi with clarity. He was in an Anbu outfit, chest plate and everything. Onyx eyes and black hair, with some sort of age lines running sideways from his eyes to his cheeks. He was the man who had saved him a year ago. He was Sasuke's brother. Itachi's eyes melted from black into blood red with a three-sided pinwheel. "What the heck is that?" Naruto mused to himself. "Thank you, Itachi-san." He was about to hug his savior when the ex-Anbu poked him in the forehead instead. "Tsukiyomi." Itachi whispered, and Naruto's world faded from sight, meshing into a pit of darkness. "Naruto, this is my world, the world of Tsukiyomi, where I can control everything from scenarios to time itself. I have given you part of my power because I believe you can do some good with it. I need you to live, to survive. Before I go, I must do one last thing, I must tell you the truth because that Naruto-kun shall set you free." Itachi spoke, and Naruto for once was attentive. "What's the truth?" Naruto asked inquisitively. "You're not just the jailer for Kyuubi, Naruto. You're the Indama Hokage's son, and no one knows that but the Sandaime and the High Shinobi Council." Tears sprang to Naruto's new eyes. "I'm Yondaime's son." He stuttered, stupefied. Days passed within the Tsukiyomi as Itachi revealed things that number 9-year-old should know. "Be free, Naruto, be free." After the trumpet stopped, Naruto stood there, his black cloak billowing from the punishing winds as he surveyed the members of the Akatsuki standing in front of him. His neon green gaze caught sight of Akatsuki who looked surprised to see them, much older than they should have been, though he didn't show much emotion. Naruto found it surprisingly easy to read him right then and there. Then there was Akasuna no Sasori, clad in his full puppet form with his metal scorpion's tail whipping about, most likely dripping with poison, if any of the man's reputation was correct. Lastly was Hoshigaki Kisame, Samehada in front of him, leering at the upcoming fight. Kisame lived to fight and eventually die by the blade, those were the hardest opponents. The ones who didn't care if each fight was their last. But he was the Akatsuki member Naruto was about to face off against. "I see you have a scabbard, but no sword." Kisame called out to Naruto. His green eyes threatened to turn into red rubies with black slits, but Naruto repressed the anger as quickly as it came. With people like Akatsuki, anger would only lead to a fast defeat. Then again, so would fighting them. "There's a sword, but I found that it's pretty heavy to be lugging around all the time." Naruto replied, before biting his thumb and pulling a scroll free from his vest, before wiping the bloody digit on the scroll and summoning his own. The Kubikiri Haucho to be exact. "That's Mamachi's Abusa's blade." Kisame spoke outraged. "Yes it is, and then I killed him and his apprentice single-handedly. This sword has never been used by me in actual battle, so I thought it would be fitting to fight against you, because to me, the sword means something. It's a memoir of a lesson I learned against Abusa and Haku." Naruto spoke. "Let me guess, that fighting to protect a precious one makes you stronger." Kisame said, laughing. "No, that sometimes you just got to kill a motherfucker." Naruto retorted, before disappearing in a blur and attacking Kisame head-on, swinging the large blade in a decapitating slash. Such speed. Kisame thought, before bringing up a Samehada as well to block the incoming slash. The other four ninja took this as a cue to start dueling it out and departed for their own place to fight, wanting to give each other enough space due to each other's fighting styles. Kisame blocked the Kubikiri, but not the foot that connected with his face, nearly spinning him around if it were not for his size and strength. Angered by the volatile, Kisame ducked under the next swing of the blondes before ramming his free hand into the boy's stomach. Having lost his breath momentarily, he flew backwards and crashed into some sandy landscape, tearing down a statue of what he presumed to be one of the Kazekijas. "Damn it, that bastard has a hell of a punch." Naruto cursed out as he stood back up to his feet wobbly, but not fast enough to avoid another one of Kisame's punches that rocked his body, sending him orbiting backwards again. Blood sprayed into the air, spewing from Naruto's mouth, and in midair, Naruto activated his Sharingan in its perfected 3 form, and he caught sight of Kisame's next attack, a shredding slash with his Samehada. Spinning sideways in midair, Naruto landed on the sword, ignoring the drain on his chakra he suddenly felt, before kicking Kisame in the face, smiling in satisfaction as he heard a loud snap. Backflipping off the sword, he landed on his feet before putting the back inside its scroll. He didn't need it for now. "As you can see, I'm still pretty much a novice when it comes to. But what I lack in that, I make up for in everything else." Naruto claimed, his blood-red Sharingan spinning around in his eyes. "You have the Sharingan." Itachi didn't mention anything about that. Kisame spoke, looking at the warily, as if seeing him in a new light. "Let's continue." Naruto boasted, before going through a set of hand seals. Jiraiya clasped his hands together, he was nervous as hell for what he was about to do. His palms were sweaty, and he realized he'd never been this nervous since the time Tsunade caught him peeking at her. Definitely worth it though. You can't do this, it's not time. A soft, aging voice croaked out. Sarutobi-sensei, you're not the Hokage anymore, remember? Jiraiya replied. Once it's revealed, Naruto will have to worry about Iwa and Kumo. That's too much burden on such young shoulders. Sarutobi Hiruzen pleaded to his student. And Kyuubi's not. You let that boy deal with that burden his whole life, never telling him why it was that he was getting beat up. And now that he's strong enough to fight off any bounty hunters that might come his way, now that we can change the misguided hate Konoha has had for him, you want to talk about his burdens. Please sensei, don't embarrass yourself by acting senile. Jiraiya growled out. Sarutobi had the sense to look abashed. You must really hate me, Jiraiya-kun. Sarutobi said gently, betraying his student with a look of sadness. Despite the fact that my godson was nearly murdered 6 times and you didn't tell me, I don't hate you. Despite the fact that you forced me to be Hokage, I don't hate you. But now with this, you really are starting to piss me off. Don't you have a mission to be worrying about anyway? Jiraiya said nonchalantly. I do. Jiraiya, before I go, I just wanted to let you know I always loved you as a son, even if I never showed it. Sarutobi said gently, before disappearing. Jiraiya stood to his feet, before summoning Genma into the room. Yes Hokage-sama? Genma asked. Is all of Konoha waiting for us? Jiraiya asked. Yes sir, we have all of Konoha ready for this speech you speak of. Genma replied tonelessly. Thank you for your assistance Genma. Prepare for departure. Jiraiya ordered. Genma had no idea what was going to happen, but he had a gnawing feeling in his gut that things would never be the same. To say the Kazekage was afraid for his life would have been an understatement. He was terrified, and even though he was the leading shinobi in Kase no Kuni, that didn't matter to him as he watched the S-rank criminal Deidara launch another clay spider at some of the genin and that attempted to attack him before blowing them up into smithereens. This is my art. Deidara bellowed to the whole village before blowing up the local orphanage in a fiery blaze. This whole infrastructure is weak, Kazekage-sama, this is only my C2. Deidara announced. Aki leapt in front of the Kazekage. Urameshi, please you have to do something. You're the Yondaime Kazekage. Baki snapped at him, and realization dawned on the Kazekage's face. He was the Kazekage, meaning the village came before his own very life. He was the leader of the village, and if laying his life down served to protect their way of living, he had to do it. Tossing his regal robes to the side, revealing a black outfit with a brown vest underneath, the Kazekage pulled out some kunai before launching them at Deidara, still mounted on a huge flying clay bird. Deidara avoided the kunai easily, but it was just a distraction as the Kazekage ran through a set of hand seals and swiped a bloody thumb across a large scroll, summoning large puppets out of them. So you have an art similar to Sasori-senpai, yeah? Deidara asked, before avoiding a large bat-like puppet. I am the 4th wind shadow of Tsunagakure, prepared to die, a criminal. The Kazekage yelled, before launching his bat-like puppet again at the clay using Iwa no Kin. Too bad you're nowhere near as good as him. Deidara replied snarkily. Angered by the comment, Yondaime mounted the huge wooden bat and sent himself flying at Deidara. Before he even got within 5 meters, Deidara spoke again, my art is a bang. The Yondaime Kazekage then noticed small spiders coming out of his puppet's mouth. His eyes widened, but before he could leap off, one of them grew in size and held him in place. Hatsu? Deidara called out, and the bat puppet and the Kazekage exploded, showering the sand and burnt wood and seared flesh and blood. No. Baki yelled, about to leap towards the Akatsuki member that had killed his leader, when he saw the sand behind Deidara rise, like a giant wall. Ryusa Bakuryu. Gaara, the son of the now late Kazekage bellowed, and the giant waterfall of sand overwhelmed Deidara, plowing him straight to the earth before covering him in sand. There was no way out for him. Tsubaku Taisu. Gaara yelled, slamming his hands down on the earth, and Deidara screamed as thousands of pounds of pressure pressed down upon him, eradicating him. Good job Gaara. Baki congratulated him, leaping down to see if the boy was alright after watching his father die. Gaara ignored him and raised the sand back up and using his powers, he brought Deidara's body back up to the surface. Deidara had an eerie smile on his face, before melting in white clay. You didn't think it'd be that easy did ya, yeah? It's time for my C3, this is my art. Sasuke looked at his brother for the first time in 6 years, well at least to him. In reality, only 3 and some change had passed. Itachi looked the same, though he was clad in his black collared cloak with eerie red clouds on them. His hair seemed a little bit longer, and his eyes seemed weary. Itaudo, how have you been? You seem older than you should be. Itachi drawled out, summoning chakra to his eyes, activating his fully mastered Sharingan. I'm actually almost 16 years old, only 2 years younger than you. I might even be stronger than you were at that age. Sasuke boasted pridefully. Did you think I spent the last 3 years wasting them? No, I did not, foolish little brother. I've become more efficient. Itachi replied. Efficient in killing, I'm assuming. Doesn't get any more efficient than slaughtering your own clan though, does it, dear Ensan? Sasuke asked, activating his Sharingan as well. There were 3 commas in each eye, though he had yet to fully master it. Itachi's lips pursed in a tight-lipped smile. No, I'm afraid it doesn't. Itachi replied, bringing his hand up to take off his straw hat and tossing it aside carelessly. After that, Itachi unbuttoned the top 2 buttons on the cloak before going through a set of hand seals, but they were hidden by his cloak. Heian. Gakkyuu no Jutsu. Itachi mouthed out as he sucked in air and blew out a large fireball at Sasuke. A huge ball of fire several meters in diameter blew past his lips and scorched the earth underneath them. Rather than avoiding them, Sasuke took it head-on. The flames singed his skin, burning flesh, leaving behind only a charred body in its place. Itachi's eyes narrowed at the charred body that was Sasuke's. Then Sasuke stood up, the raunchy smell of burned flesh in the air. Didn't you hear me? Silly like that won't work on me, big brother. I too have eyes like yours, even your Tsukuyomi won't have much effect on me. Sasuke replied, releasing them with just a flare of chakra. You don't think it is the only thing in my repertoire? Itachi asked, smiling thinly. No, or else you wouldn't be able to kill an entire clan of Uchihas. So bring it on, or else prepare to die today. Sasuke boasted, applying chakra to his feet before bursting off and sprinting at Itachi. Such confidence. The very same confidence that got our clan killed, yet here you are, about to end up just like them. Itachi replied. Why did you let me live? Sasuke demanded, leaping in the air to kick his brother in the face, but Itachi ducked it deftly, and as Sasuke spun around, Itachi rammed his fist in his stomach, nearly making Sasuke bend over in pain. I told you to hate me with all you had, knowing that I let you live on a whim, surviving in such a pitiful state. I told you to come see me when you had eyes like mine. Itachi replied cryptically. I have eyes like yours. I hate you, don't mistake that. But I'm not going to live a sad, pathetic life, completely hell-bent on revenge because you told me to. I will kill my heart and kill you only if I must, because while I hate you Itachi, you are my brother and I still love you. So let's not waste this moment with your cryptic babble. Fight me with all you got, brother, because I will do the same. Sasuke spoke and swung his foot in a high arc aimed at Itachi's face. Itachi was merely a blur as he swerved out of the way, effortlessly sliding behind Sasuke and holding a kunai to his neck. Too much talking. Itachi spoke cruelly, and before he could kill Sasuke, Sasuke's body dematerialized. Genjutsu against me? Itachi asked indignantly, before Sasuke's fist rammed into his jaw, bruising the pale flesh and sending him bowling over into the sands. As he stood up, his blood-red eyes saw the movement of 2 shuriken flying his way and he slid in between them, only to cry out in pain as ninja wire wrapped around him, stretching tight. The shuriken swung back, and Sasuke grabbed them by the center circle opening, clutching them tightly before crisscrossing them, making the 2 lengths of ninja wire almost one. How? Itachi asked softly, he didn't think his brother would have pulled the Sharingan Sufusha-san Itachi on him. His brother was more resourceful than he could have imagined. Despite his fully mastered Sharingan, he had seen the shuriken coming, but he hadn't seen the ninja wire attached to them. That was unheard of. Itachi never got surprised in battle. Easy, the Uchiha's downfall was that we thought our eyes were so powerful, nothing could prevail over it. But all have weaknesses. Sunlight, and there's plenty of that here in Sunagakur. I aimed it perfectly, using the sunlight as a cover making the ninja wire invisible to you. You didn't think I'd have a contingency plan, but here I am. I trained specifically to beat you, Itachi. Sasuke spoke before going through a set of hand seals and firing off a kaiten. Ryuka no at the Itachi through the ninja wire. The ends of the wire caught on fire and shot through the wire and caught Itachi square on the chest, burning a hole through his black cloak, leaving a smoky trail in its wake. Sasuke knew it wouldn't do more than minimal damage. It was a C rank after all, but he wasn't going to start firing off his big guns yet. He'd wait for Itachi to make his move. Itachi stood back up to his feet, his cloak was burnt at his lower torso, and the flesh covering his solar plexus was singed, pink and hurting. Sasuke had improved after all. Fine. Let's see what you got, Sasuke-kun. Itachi replied softly, a disdainful look in his eyes, blood red burning with contempt. No brother, let's see what you got. Sasuke smirked, trying his damnedest not to underestimate the S-ranked criminal. Vegito knew she was going to win. There were no ifs, ands, or buts. She had the clear advantage on the puppet user and it was beginning to show as Sasori was moving more sluggish than usual. She had already seared off his black and red cloak with her hellfire, the bluish flames searing it instantly, hotter than 1,000 suns. She could tell he was just a puppet, at least the physical body that was visible to her. But that meant either he was controlling it with chakra strings or the real Akasuna no Sasori was hiding inside the large frame. Puppet users were usually dangerous to fight. Unless they were fighting her. Puppet users were dangerous because their puppets contained hidden compartments that were poisoned. Whether it be poisoned, kunai, or even poison gas, good puppet users could kill opponents quickly and efficiently while maintaining their distance. Unfortunately for them, Yujiro was immune to all poisons known to man. Something in the Nibi's chakra, maybe it was just Bijuu chakra in general, but she was given an immunity of sorts. That was the not so good part of being the Nibi no Nekomata. And again, she was kicking Sasori's ass, and not many could probably claim that, if any. Sasori's puppet opened its mouth and launched another set of kunai at her. She leaped over them, whipping her katana out and deflecting any of the kunai that got close to her vitals. Two of the kunai pierced her soft flesh, and with her free hand she ripped them free, blood splattering in the air. While she was immune to the fatal effects, it still had a numbing effect on her. Slowly but surely, it was affecting her reflexes, but the Nibi's chakra was already coursing through her body, negating its effects. But there was a time delay, a full minute from when the poison came in contact. Flaring the Nibi's chakra, two tails exploded from her back and she got on all fours, surrounded by the bluish haze of the Nibi's chakra. It cloaked her, flames surrounding her whole body forcing her to take in her animalistic instincts and turn into a miniature version of the Nibi. The 16-year-old Konoha had disappeared in a blur, avoiding anything that Sasori could launch at her tails extending and shooting themselves at Sasori without her even controlling them, before wrapping themselves around him and setting his puppet alight. The fire burned away and Sasori did not scream. He did not feel it. Yujiro launched the Akatsuki agent in the air before firing a concentrated ball of blue flames at him. She grunted and fell over in pain, the blue flames wavering, the demon's cloak nearly disappearing. As she had grabbed him, he had stabbed through her with his poisoned scorpion tail, ripping its way through her abdominal walls and out of her back, flaying her intestines as she ripped him free. There was a 2-foot hole in diameter where her ribs and kidneys used to be. She had already been poisoned when she charged and took a chance. This only made it worse. She was about to die. Her breathing became shallow, and then she stopped breathing. Then Yujiro, a 16-year-old from Konoha, died. Naruto looked over, he had felt a stabbing pain through his gut. The pain wasn't physical, but it was enough to get him to stop assaulting Kisame for a second. There was a feeling of loss, and he immediately knew what it was. It was Yujiro. She had died. Somehow he knew it. He would kill Sasori, but he had to kill Hoshigaki Kisame first. Blood-red eyes, hauntingly eerie with the 3 spinning kamas, morphed into a 3-sided pinwheel, a version of Itachi's Manjikyu Sharingan. Naruto spiked his chakra, flaring it willfully, his hair spiking up in the air, a malevolent look to the self-proclaimed Oni no Konoha. Kisame kicked him in the chest and backed away for a second. His kick had little effect and he didn't know whether to be excited or fearful. He never had faced off against the legendary Manjikyu Sharingan, he'd seen Itachi use it enough to be wary of it, but never had he been the target of those eyes. Naruto looked at him in contempt before launching himself at the ex-swordsman of the mist. He was nearly invisible and Kisame couldn't track him, but there was a feeling of dread. Rasengan. Naruto bellowed, and instantly a blue sphere formed in his hands with 4 spinning blades of wind. Slamming the Rasengan into Kisame, he could feel the wind chakra tear into his opponent as blackish blood splattered his face and attire, flesh flying and suddenly Kisame was spun sideways, away from his devastating S-rank technique. In his pain, Kisame had let go of the Samehada and Naruto felt the urge to close his left eye. Suddenly he grunted in pain as blood bled from his right Manjikyu eye and the Samehada sword caught on fire, black fire to be precise. Amaterasu? Naruto whispered. He had done that impulsively, without even thinking about it. What had Uchiha Itachi imprinted on him so long ago? What had he foreseen? Naruto shone in front of Kisame, catching him before he fell and slammed his fist into his chest. Kisame's eyes widened in pain and a loud grunt escaped his blue lips. But Kisame was not an S-rank criminal for nothing, grabbing the blonde by the front of his black cloak and flipping him over him, sending him crashing into the sand once more. You don't think I'd be as great as I am by just being a swordsman? Kisame asked, and the wound Naruto's Rasengan had left slowly began to heal, muscles and sinewy tissue regrouping to regenerate. How did you do that? Naruto asked, annoyed that Kisame healed the wound effortlessly. When I was just a child, my parents were slain by the Nidame Mizukage, claiming they were traitors. Because of that, I grew up hated by everyone, spat on, and rejected. Then it all changed, the Sandame Mizukage defeated the Sanbi no Kyodagame, but he didn't want to seal it at the time. However, there was residue chakra in the area, left over from the battle, and all that chakra was collected and sealed within me. The Sandame made me his personal pseudo Jinchuriki and gave me the very same sword he used to defeat the Samehada. That is why I have large amounts of chakra and why I appear this way. When you used that technique, I couldn't block it, so instead I focused as much Yokai chakra as I could to heal the damage after the impact. Kisame finished, smiling in a menacing, shark-like manner. Then I'll make sure there's nothing left to regenerate. Naruto replied calmly. Feel free to try, boy. Kisame challenged, trying to get a rise out of the boy. The Akatsuki didn't have much information on the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. They were expecting a blind, blonde kid who wasn't a shinobi, let alone one as powerful as he was, wielding the Sharingan. Add in the spy that they did have in Konoha as Rikan was getting molested by Orochimaru, Kisame mused. After all, they couldn't bring too much attention to themselves. Until now, at least. Naruto deactivated his Manjikyu, still not used to the blinding pain that came with the Amaterasu. He didn't want to up and use another half-arsed Tsukiyomi. Hoshigaki Kisame was someone he didn't want to be bonded to. Seeing as his unintentional Amaterasu had burned the legendary Samehada sword to nothingness, he didn't want to use that as his advantage by bringing out his once more. Not because he had some sort of idiotic nobleness to him, because he didn't. But because he wanted to beat Kisame that badly, he wanted to destroy him and send that as a message to the Akatsuki that Uzumaki Naruto was not one to be messed with. Kisame didn't leave him with too much time to think as he charged, surprisingly fast for a person as tall and as large as he was, before he attempted to ram a kunai through Naruto, which he pulled out of nowhere. But unfortunately for him, Naruto's 3-Tomo Sharingan was still active and masterfully reading right through him. Before Kisame could even reach him, lightning began to gather in his hand, encompassing it completely, but unlike the Chidori. It did not sound like 1,000 birds, it sounded like 10,000 birds screeching into untimely death. The lightning chakra was summoned to his hand with such quickness and with 4 one-handed hand seals. Kisame's eyes widened once more and he tried to sidestep it, but Naruto was faster than he was and rammed the air-ankt into Kisame's face. Gorite Sappari. Naruto yelled and his fist released the chakra upon contact. Kisame's face flared with light as minuscule flashes of lightning tore his face asunder. His right eyeball, above where the punch connected, fried immediately, exploding out of Kisame's face. Yellow, oozing pus dripped out of Kisame's right eye socket and he didn't grunt this time. He screamed. The lightning tore through his muscles, melting them away like candle wax, searing his tongue until that too was charred into nothing. Naruto screamed too. His A-rank strong thunder thrust was a double-edged sword. Like his Rasen Shuriken, it kicked back some of the lightning chakra shards back to him, sending them running rampant through his nervous system, boiling his blood. Powerful as it was, he couldn't hold the charge for longer than 3 seconds upon impact, or else he could permanently damage himself as well. Kisame fell to the ground, landing on his back with a heavy thud. Naruto knew he had to finish it soon, he had used numerous high powers, and he couldn't continue to do so unless he wanted to tap into the Kyuubi's power. He couldn't afford that. Fortunately, this last attack required some chakra, but none of his, at least not the second part. It's over, Kisame. This last attack's going to kill you. Naruto boasted, forming the tiger hand seal with his hands. Fuck you. Kisame yelled, how are you this strong? Naruto smirked at the fallen swordsman. They should have never underestimated him. Kaiten. Garyuka no Naruto yelled, firing 6 dragon's head-shaped fireballs into the sky. They were scorching hot, scorching the clouds, and setting the condition for what Naruto needed it to be. He had picked up that last attack from Sasuke for teaching him the Chidori and the Rasengan, except Sasuke pretty much sucked at the latter. When the great dragon fire scorched the skies, moments later there was a rumble of thunder overhead. Just how Naruto wanted it. What are you doing? Kisame muttered, trying to get up to his feet, but finding it hard to do so. You'll just have to wait, fish face. Naruto replied. Naruto stood, hands outstretched to the skies, and calmed himself into what could be considered meditation. As the thunder rolled and crackled in the sky, blue beams of light began to surround the area and were sucked to Naruto's outstretched hands. Kisame looked at him with one bleary eye as he tried to summon his Yokai to heal him. His flesh slowly began repairing, but it was taking longer than usual. Well, he was a powerhouse, maintaining this long of a fight with Naruto and healing himself after the devastating Futon. Rasengan was taking its toll on him. More shards of blue light began to gather in Naruto's hands, giving him an eerie glow of blue. Naruto felt energized. That was the only thing he could describe it as. Lightning chakra, natural lightning chakra was summoned to his hands for probably his most devastating technique. Thunder roared and lightning crackled as a sphere formed into Naruto's outstretched hands, formed by the blue lightning chakra. The sphere was so large, it towered over Naruto, 12 meters tall and 10 meters wide. Lightning chakra was sucked into the sphere and a horrible screeching sound commenced as the sphere contained so much chakra it was threatening to explode into a black hole, vacuuming and sucking the world into it. Kisame looked at it fearfully as he stood up and tried to defend himself. His left eye had yet to regenerate and he knew if this hit him, he would be dead. There would be nothing left. Suddenly a huge golden ring formed around the massive ball of destruction. Check my SS rank technique, Kisame. It'll be the last thing you'll see before you die. Naruto bragged. The golden ring spun around the circumference of the sphere, and Naruto knew it was time to unleash his technique. Kiji no Rasengan. Naruto bellowed. As unleashed his technique, a red and black scythe sliced into his side, biting into his abdomen, spraying blood all over the sands. Naruto tried to turn around and look at his attacker. But as he looked for concentration and his life source of blood, his Kiji no Rasengan exploded and the world went wide as lightning tore his vision apart and the world with it. Jiraiya looked at the thousands of people in front of him. Some were civilians, wondering just what Jiraiya had to say that was so important that all of Konoha had been forcibly summoned. Ninja from Genin 2 were waiting for their fearless leader to confirm their greatest fear, that the fourth great ninja war was about to commence. It saddens me to have to summon you all here. It really does. But alas, I as your Hokage have a duty to let you know how our world will change as we know it. Some of you have heard rumors, some of you misunderstand certain things, and there are certain forces at work that don't want me to tell you what I have to say, but you must know, because the will of fire depends on it. Jiraiya spoke gravelly, staring at the crowd through heavy-lidded eyes. He'd been up the last 34 hours, working and strategizing on what to say, what to do as village leader. He thought of how he hated Sarutobi for making him the Godame when there were other ninjas more capable of the job. Tell us Hokage-sama. Some of the crowd chanted. Tell me, what do you think of the boy that you know as Uzumaki Naruto? Jiraiya boomed, his voice carrying loudly. Some people blatantly booed and said evil things about him, mostly, everyone else was too afraid to voice their opinion to Godame. As of now, I lift the decree of silence on the boy's condition. I want all of you to know this. On October 10th, 13 years ago, our hero, the Yondaime Hokage, sealed the Kyuubi no Kitsune within Uzumaki Naruto. He couldn't kill the Kitsune, so he was forced to sacrifice a child, an innocent child for the safety and sake of all of Konoha. Naruto exists to protect Konoha, it is he that stops the Kyuubi from coming out of his cage and destroying us. As the Yondaime Hokage died, his last wish was for Naruto to be viewed as the hero he was, because he was sacrificed to protect all of you. Yet that didn't stop you villagers from pissing on the Hokage's wishes. Did you think he was such a Shada Hokage that he would mess up the ceiling? Or did you simply hate Naruto because he was the only scapegoat available for you to hate? Something to hate because you lost your family to the real demon. Jiraiya spoke sadly, his eyes watering at the thought that he too was to blame for Naruto's treatment. The crowd was quiet, hanging on to the Hokage's words, though most people had conflicted thoughts and it was etched on his face. The older and weren't conflicted though, they knew of Naruto and already had their opinions on him. Some would still hate him, others were warming up to him as they heard of his prowess as a ninja. You abused him, mistreated him, overcharged him. He's just an innocent boy who didn't even know why he was hated. Can you imagine Konohagakure no Sado? Imagine being hated for something you don't even know of. Picture that life, that was Naruto. Have you ever wondered who his parents were? Jiraiya asked, and someone jumped out of the shadows in an attempt to kill him before he could reveal the truth to the populace. Jiraiya sidestepped his attacker, and Anbu Black Op agents grabbed the rogue nin before he could do anything. Can you imagine who the Yondaime would have asked for the sacrifice? I'll tell you who, himself. Loving the village like he did, he put you people before himself and sacrificed his only son for the sake of the village and sealed the Kyuubi within him. Uzumaki Naruto is the son of the late Yondaime Hokage, and you people abused him. War is on the rise, and you now have to live with the fact that Yondaime's only son doesn't want to protect you, and I don't blame him. Live with that knowledge, which includes the shinobi, as well as me. War is coming people, prepare for it. And I don't know who you worship, but I'd suggest you pray to whatever deity that you worship that Naruto defends Konohagakure when it does happen. Jiraiya finished before turning his back on the village he loved. An outrage broke out. The world as Konoha knew had been flipped upside down, and the leader of the village left, tormented in his own grief, too ashamed to let the village see the tears of pain slide down his cheeks. It was a sad day in Konoha. Chapter 14. Apocalypse Now. Pain was a glorious thing. It was all he knew in his life, it was the one constant Naruto knew he could rely on, the one thing that would never change. The large scythe tore into his side, biting down and ripping through his flesh as if it were paper thin, blood spraying the air as his entrails threatened to come bursting out. Rubbery and slimy, the pink entrails poked out of the skin like an unwanted jack-in-the-box. Naruto screamed, his throat hoarse as he fell forward stumbling into the sand face first. Sand splashed into his face, digging its way into his eyes and mouth. His eyes closed involuntarily and he felt a gross wetness around him. He assumed it was his own blood. Blood, the red coppery life fluid pooled around his side where the scythe had ripped him apart and from his mouth. Before he could think any other rational thought, the scythe was ripped from him viciously back to its owner. His body had been torn into ribbons and he knew without a doubt he was going to die, at least he would die together with Yujito. Suddenly he was yanked into the recesses of his mind and he appeared in front of the seal, posted on Konoha. "What do you want, Fox? We're about to die and I'm in no mood for your games or trickery." Naruto snapped irritably. Sitting down on the wet soil of a floor with his back pressed against the wall parallel to the cage, he waited to die. After 13 years or 16 depending on perspective, he mused. Of suffering at the hands of his village, it was finally over. He could die and then rest in peace. "Do not speak to me in such a manner, you stupid mongrel. You should grovel at my feet and beg for power, little boy. I am Kyuubi and I refuse to die in such an inferior manner. Now pull the seal off and let me take care of this and you shall be spared." Kyuubi spat out threateningly. Naruto looked up at him, neon green eyes melding into red with tomes spinning around wildly. "Shut up." Naruto roared, "How many times do I have to tell you I'm not releasing you, not now, not ever." Naruto added. The Kyuubi looked at him dangerously, a dark glare that would make most shinobi run in fear. "It appears you don't have a choice, monkey," Kyuubi said before bursting out into laughter. Naruto didn't want to find out what that meant, but the red chakra exploded around him. Two blazing set of red, three-sided pinwheels stared at each other hauntingly before the explosion rocked them both, sending them ricocheting across the sand, lightning whipping across their body as they shut their Sharingan eyes from the sheer agony of bright light burning into their retinas. Sasuke stood up slowly, pain tearing through his nerves as lightning chakra had embedded itself into his. Pulling out his katana, he looked over at Itachi who was on his feet as well. Sprinting towards his brother, his katana was ready to impale the traitorous Uchiha, but Itachi deftly countered, grabbing the blade from the sides, holding Sasuke in place. Sasuke looked his brother in the eye and the Mangekyou Sharingan swallowed him alive as he drowned in the world of Tsukiyomi. Sasuke stood in the middle of the Uchiha district on the night Itachi slaughtered them all. He was back in his younger body and glaring at his older brother malevolently. "Why are we here, Itachi?" Sasuke demanded, his tone letting Itachi know he was short of patience. He knew that in this world, Itachi controlled time and the world itself. But that knowledge, he also knew his pseudo-Mangekyou Sharingan was the only thing to counter it. He felt no fear of being in danger. In today's battle, he might have not proved to Itachi that he was in fact superior or even equal, but he proved Itachi would have a hard fight ahead of him to take Sasuke out. What he might not have in strength, he was cunning, extremely so, and that he had in spades. "Foolish." Itachi called out, deactivating his Sharingan. To the Uchiha, that meant a sign of submission. But Sasuke was not stupid and leveled his blood-red eyes, releasing his Mangekyou and staring him down with 3 times in each eye, spinning madly. "You're the fool, Ensan." Sasuke taunted slowly, catching his breath even though he knew in this world, exhaustion didn't apply to either of them. Just pain. "I'm assuming you know the truth of the clan, Naruto-kun must have told you after my departure." Itachi started levelly. "He told me his truth, what you showed him in the Mangekyou, I have no reason to believe it's what actually happened," Sasuke announced. "Then why aren't you fighting me at full strength?" Itachi asked softly. "Did I not tell you to hate me, surviving in such a despicable manner, and to come to me when you had the same eyes? Have you killed your best friend Sasuke? Those are not your Mangekyou Sharingan eyes, those are mine." Itachi noted. "How do you know?" Sasuke asked. "It is the same Sharingan I gave Naruto, a copy of my own when I transferred part of my power into him. He must have transferred part of that power into you." Itachi stated plainly, his voice and face void of emotion. "You're right. I can't bring myself to kill Naruto, my closest friend, even if it meant getting my own Mangekyou in the process." Sasuke shot back. "Then you cannot defeat me, it is foolish to try to defeat me with a watered-down version of my own Sharingan, Sasuke." Itachi remarked bluntly. "I can and will beat you, Itachi, Mangekyou or not, because no matter what, I will forever hate you for what you've done to me. You robbed me of my childhood, of what could have been, and I will avenge my parents unless you give me the truth to why you slaughtered our clan, and perhaps I'll be merciful. Now tell me, why did you kill them? Why did you betray our clan, our parents?" Sasuke spat angrily. "Our clan. Our clan. Our clan was founded in blood, and blood will redeem it. I redeemed our clan, blood flowed and cleansed it, leaving just you in the hopes of one last battle between us and the winner will continue the clan. 2 brothers established the Uchiha to what it's become and 2 of us will end it and something new will arise." Itachi explained. 2 brothers, what the hell are you talking about?" Sasuke roared in anger, his fists clenched, his sides. "Do you know the history of our Sharingan?" Itachi asked plainly. Why does that matter to Itachi? Sasuke thought. Most believe that the Sharingan is a genetic offspring of a Byakugan from the Hyuga. Sasuke stated. Then I'd have to say most are wrong. Our Sharingan stems from Rakuto Sennin, the very first shinobi. Itachi replied methodically. He's a 600-year-old myth. He didn't exist. Sasuke denied vehemently. He did exist, and I think in some ways, he exists. Itachi replied cryptically. Stop talking nonsense, he'd have died of old age by now. Some things remain immortal, some cannot be killed, or no one knows a way to. For example, there is another amongst us who cannot die. But that is not important, Sasuke. What's important is that the Rakuto Sennin had two sons, one who loved peace and one who loved war. Fearing death in his old age, the Rakuto Sennin blessed his sons by giving the older brother more strength to protect peace, and the younger brother was giving a variant of his father's eyes. Instead of the Rinnegan, he was given the Sharingan. Itachi explained, his face still neutral. What is the Rinnegan? Sasuke asked. The father of all, the Rakuto Sennin wielded it and could control any element and had power so strong he was literally invincible. Years passed and the descendants of the older brother became the Senju, the forest-loving clan and clan to the first Hokage. The descendants of the younger brother became the Uchiha, rivals of the Senju, and warriors of inconceivable strength. Of that clan arose Uchiha Madara, the first to unlock the Mangekyou Sharingan, and leader of the Uchiha clan, rival to Senju Hashirama. Itachi replied softly. Uchiha Madara, I've heard that name before. What does this all have to do with why you slaughtered the clan? Answer me, Itachi. Sasuke demanded impetuously. Madara-san has a statue of himself and the Shide Hokage in the Valley of the End, statues built to remind the Uchiha what happens when you betray Konoha. Itachi said, his voice lowering. You're not making any sense. Tell me. Sasuke demanded, grabbing his right forearm with his left hand, he summoned up lightning chakra and sped at Itachi, ramming him through the chest with a Chidori. Suddenly Itachi exploded into a flock of ravens and Sasuke was kicked hard in the face. I would if you'd listen. Itachi taunted. Hein, hurry up so I can kill you. Sasuke demanded. I already told you, you can't kill me, not without the eyes of the kaleidoscope. Itachi warned him. Sasuke's tome spun angrily in his eyes. Itachi continued, undisturbed. Madara waged war against the Senju in Hai no Kuni, when one clan hired the Senju, the rival clan hired the Uchiha, and Madara loved it. Tired of bloodshed, the daimyo and Senju struck up a peace treaty with the Uchiha to form Konohagakure no Sado, but Madara refused until his Uchiha brethren pleaded with him to stop the bloodshed that had claimed so many of the younger generation. This led to another battle. The battle for the Shide Hokage election. Madara wanted to be Hokage and Hashirama wanted to be Hokage. Fearing another war, the Uchiha demanded Madara to drop out of the election, betraying his ideals, and in anger Madara left the village, vowing vengeance against the Uchiha. Why did the Uchiha fear another war? Sasuke asked, ensnared into Itachi's tale. Right after Konoha was formed, other countries adopted the ninja villages and were already battling to gain more territory. With the threat of an outside war, no one wanted one internally. An internal war would cause Konoha to weaken militarily and be pillaged by other ninja villages. So feeling betrayed, Madara left and returned years later, wielding the Kyuubi and the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. Itachi explained. Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. Sasuke repeated, stumbling around the words. The Mangekyou Sharingan is accessed by the murder of one's closest friend. The Mangekyou is powerful, almost as powerful as the Rinnegan, but power comes with a price. For murdering your best friend, after using the Mangekyou, the more you use it, the blinder you become. The only cure is to murder your brother. A brother with the Mangekyou Sharingan. So that's what you want me for? Sasuke demanded, for a more powerful Sharingan. Sasuke demanded, his eyes wide and watery. To measure myself against you. Itachi replied. Madara murdered his brother and took his eyes and gained the Eternal Sharingan. This Sharingan's power was unlimited and didn't blind the user. Madara tried to use the Kyuubi to destroy the village and failed, and in the end faced Hashirama in the Valley of the End, where the Shodai ran him through with a sword. He was believed to be dead. Years later, he returned to destroy Konoha with the Kyuubi again, but the Yondaime sealed the Kyuubi away into his only child, a child born on that night, Uzumaki Naruto. Fearing his discovery, he fled again, but it was too late, the Yondaime was dead, and the Shinobi Council feared the Uchiha clan once again. As you know, the Nidaime established the Konoha military police, mainly using the Uchiha as the military force as a sign of trust. After the Kyuubi's return, Anbu monitored the Uchiha, and the council forced them to move into the southern district of Konoha, secluded from the village. I don't remember that. Sasuke said, scowling. You would have been too young, Sasuke. That is when the clan meetings began, hushed whispers behind the Sandaime's back, demanding that Fugaku Tausen do something to change it. Years had passed and they groomed me, his firstborn son, into a weapon to be unleashed against Konoha if need be. They used me as a spy, making me join the Anbu, then relaying information to them during the clan's meetings. Danzo, an old warmonger and rival to the Sandaime, was part of the Shinobi High Council, as well as the Sandaime's teammates, Kaharu and Homura. Those three orchestrated the Uchiha massacre. Itachi confessed, locking eyes with his brother, a haunted look in his dark brown orbs. If they orchestrated it, why did you slaughter them, why our parents, damn it? Sasuke demanded. I betrayed the clan, that's why. Danzo is the Anbu commander that reports to the Hokage, so as a member of the Anbu, I report to him. I double-crossed the clan in an attempt to maintain peace. As Danzo became suspicious of the Uchiha, Fugaku Tausen waged a silent war against Konoha, a coup d'etat to establish the Uchiha's supremacy over Konoha. That war would have weakened Konoha, which was ultimately more important than the village. So I was ordered to slaughter the clan, every last one of them. Itachi said dangerously, giving Sasuke a pointed look. Then why am I alive? Sasuke asked disbelievingly. Because I wished it to be, because I couldn't kill my little brother Sasuke. Itachi replied eerily. What the hell is that supposed to mean, you almost did kill me? Sasuke spat defensively. No, I hurt you, made you hate so you would cultivate that hate, that anger, all in anticipation for this moment where you and I would fight and you would kill me, redeem me for my crimes against my clan, and set me free of this life of slavery. Itachi admitted. All that was for me to kill you? Sasuke demanded angrily. The Uchiha are driven by anger, their desire for revenge and war, so I used your anger to make you strong. Itachi said softly. What about love? Sasuke yelled. You were my older brother, the person I looked up to, I loved you, damn it. You can't manipulate people like that, what is wrong with you? Itachi blinked. Love, a useless word, like clan and familial bonds. All that matters is the mission, at least for you Sasuke. You can't waste time with such frailties, or you will lose. The Akatsuki has members, all S-ranked and above, some more powerful than me. One of them being the man who helped slaughter the clan, Uchiha Madara. He is still alive, his eternal Mangekyou is still powerful, and you need to be at your strongest. You need to be an avenger, to become strong in hate and then after defeating Madara, restore the clan. Itachi stated. If love was so useless and familial bonds don't matter, why am I alive? You're a hypocrite Itachi, don't lecture me on anything because I'm done with your lessons, Ensan. From here on out, you will not manipulate me ever again, I will live my life how I want, be rest assured, this Madara will be killed, especially if he's in the Akatsuki. There's one thing I need to know, what does Akatsuki want with Naruto? Why was Naruto targeted that day as a kid, it couldn't have just been because he was the vessel for the Kyuubi. Sasuke asked. You saw something when Naruto transferred part of my power into you. Itachi stated simply, looking at Sasuke suspiciously. I thought I saw a man with one Sharingan eye. Sasuke confessed. I never asked Naruto about it. He probably doesn't remember, it must have been a traumatic experience for someone so young. Itachi replied. The truth is that Madara fears Naruto. Itachi explained. Fears Naruto? Sasuke asked in disbelief. You made him seem immortal, and now you tell me he's afraid of a 15-year-old genin. Naruto's indirectly related to the Shodai, but Madara believed him to be a descendant of the Rakuto Senin's younger son instead. Believing Naruto to possibly wield the Rinnegan, Madara sent people to kill him over the years. While the population of Konoha didn't care, the Sandaime did and kept Naruto from dying in his earlier years. When Naruto kept surviving, Madara attacked himself on his 9th birthday and blinded him by taking his eyes and destroyed them to keep Naruto from getting the Rinnegan on top of being the Kyuubi's container. His foresight was Naruto's ancestry, with it actually being to the Shodai vice the clan. Instead Naruto will become increasingly more powerful, having gained the strength and willpower from his ancestors. With him having that on top of the Kyuubi, his lineage to the 4th Hokage and his techniques, plus the unforeseen Sharingan, Naruto will become the strongest shinobi since the Rakuto Senin, if not stronger. Itachi explained. Is that why you gave him the Sharingan? Sasuke asked. No one had given him a chance. I just happened to have an extra set of eyes on me at the time. I knew somehow that everything would rest on his shoulders because I cannot defeat the Akatsuki alone. Madara-san and Leader-san are much more powerful than I. It is up to you and Naruto to defeat them, but first you have to defeat me, and you aren't ready Sasuke. Itachi spat contemptuously. Sasuke knew instinctively that this was the end of the conversation and that once the Tsukuyomi would break, Itachi and Sasuke would go back to fighting. Shedding 2 twin tears for his brother, Sasuke once again activated his Mangekyou Sharingan, and the world of Tsukuyomi swirled into a whirlpool of colors as the deactivated eye, or Kiri. Kakashi bellowed, his hand encased in powerful bright lightning chakra as he rammed it through the chest of Naruto's attacker, the silver-haired man holding the malevolent scythe. Blood and bits of bone sprayed out of the Akatsuki nin's sternum, who had just recently gotten up after Naruto's recent Kiji no Rasengan. The attack had been interrupted before the release, but it had been devastating enough. Lightning chakra had exploded outward, whipping around everyone close by. Once the spiral dome exploded, there was a gravitational pull, and everything within a quarter mile was spinning around before flying backwards in a resonating explosion. Kakashi had barely a split second to react before a raging fireball was sent his way from the other Akatsuki member, the one with a weird mask and dead and green eyes. Seeing the silver-haired shinobi had fallen, slain by his Chidori, Kakashi prepared to attack the next one. I can't believe the other was so easy, almost too easy. Kakashi thought. Before either ninja could move, they were blown backwards by sheer power and a foul red chakra that permeated through the sun-filled desert. Fuck, it's Naruto. Kakashi exclaimed, sending chakra to his feet as he pulled out the paper seals Jiraiya had given him Konoha before their departure. Before he could reach, his lone Sharingan caught sight of the side that took Naruto out whipping towards him. Using supernatural reflexes and foresight beyond a man his years, Kakashi leapt over the side which was connected to a long whip for long-distance attacks and launched a flurry of kunai at his attacker. It was the silver-haired man that he had previously used the Rakiri on. I thought he was dead. Kakashi thought numbly, then noticed the large puncture through the Akatsuki member's chest where his sternum should be. Come back here. I will sacrifice you to Lord Jashin for your sins. He bellowed. Kakuzu, sew me up. He demanded afterwards and the green-eyed shinobi walked up to him calmly and extended his hand and black miasmal strings began shooting from his extended fingers into the wound of the silver-haired Akatsuki member. Who are you? Kakashi demanded angrily, having seen his once defeated foe rise up again. I am Kakuzu and he is Haiden. We are the immortals of Akatsuki because we cannot be killed. Kakuzu spoke, peering at Kakashi through his creepy jade eyes. Immortals of Akatsuki. There is no such thing as immortality. Kakashi rebuked. Then explain to me Hada Kakashi, son of Sakumo, how it is that after you tore a hole through Haiden's chest with a Rakiri, that he was able to get up and talk when your Rakiri pierced through his heart as well. Kakuzu asked. I don't know, maybe. Kakashi replied. Don't be stupid, no one can fool the mastered Sharingan, you and I both know that. Kakuzu stated, letting out a disgusted snort. Here I thought you were the genius of Konoha, foolish Kakashi. It is as I say, we are without a doubt immortal, whether you chose to wrap that around your small brain is inconsequential, seeing as you'll be dead along with you friends and this village. Kakuzu continued. That's not going to happen. Kakashi shot back, glaring at the man. You think you have seen it all, have you? I've been around this world longer than you have, hell it was I that killed your Shidame Hokage and took his head for bounty. My strength is inconceivable to little men such as yourself. Prepare to die, Haddock, and I will take your head for a bounty. Iwa has a 22 million bounty on it. Double with the Sharingan attached. Kakuzu stated and ripped off his Akatsuki cloak, tossing it haphazardly onto the sand. You were the one who killed the Shodai? Kakashi asked doubtfully, pulling up his 8 to reveal his Sharingan. Yes, and now I will kill you too, copycat Kakashi. Kakuzu promised ruefully. Let me kill him, Kakuzu. Haiden demanded with a snarl. Jashin wishes to taste his blood. Haiden cried out. Kakashi is mine, I could use another heart for my collection. Kakuzu exclaimed dangerously, his eyes glaring over at the avid Jashinist. He attacked me first, he's mine. Haiden demanded, bloodlust leaking into his voice as his killer intent rose. Shut up and stay out of the way, Haiden, I couldn't give twos about you and your god. Kakuzu ordered, before turning around and kicking Haiden in the chest, sending him crashing a few millimeters away from the fallen body of Naruto, whose entire being was encompassed in a red shroud that reeked with the Kyuubi's chakra. I'm guessing you two aren't the best of friends, are you? Kakashi asked, giving Kakuzu his eerie eye smile. No, we're not. Merely partners until Akatsuki has what they need and I can finally kill him. Kakuzu explained. So, battle to the death then, huh? Kakashi asked. Kakuzu smirked underneath his white veil. Yes, what fun this will be. Suddenly the air was tense as the two shinobi faced off, one an S-ranked, the other an elite S-ranked of Konoha. Before Kakuzu could move, his ears caught wind of the sound of screeching birds, then his head slumped forward and he saw a lightning-covered hand protruding through his chest. What the? You never moved. Kakuzu grunted, black foul blood leaking from his lips. Hey Bunshin, while you were too busy arguing with Haiden, I created a shadow clone and used the inner decapitation technique to go underground and keep you busy with small talk. While you were talking to my shadow clone I built up the Rakiri and by then it was too late. So much for your immortal talk. Kakashi replied airily. Ripping his arm free from the Nukinen's chest, Kakashi was about to move towards where Haiden had landed when his Sharingan caught sight of the same black miasma from earlier shooting towards his face. Using the Kawarimi no on swapping places with his shadow clone expertly, he saw that Kakuzu was back up to his feet and the Kage Bunshin had been decapitated, exploding into a cloud of smoke. What was that, Haddock? Something about me not being immortal. So much for that. Kakuzu growled out and began running through a set of hand seals so fast, Kakashi almost missed them. A roaring blast of fire exploded from Kakuzu's mouth and churned towards Kakashi so fast he hadn't enough time to move out of the way. Going through his own hand seals, he managed to fire off a water vortex. The Suiton was enough to put out the Kaiten and soak the two shinobi as well as the sand. Kakuzu was back on the offensive, charging at Kakashi and launching an earth attack that made the sodden sand rise up from the ground in spikes to impale Kakashi. So he can use fire and earth. Kakashi mused, narrowly avoiding the spikes that threatened to take him out. Kakashi avoided the next set of earth spikes and got behind Kakuzu, ready to hit him with another Rikiri, and he noticed the puncture wound from his earlier one was still there and that there were 4 other masks. Each mask had a kanji from each element on it, excluding lightning, and realization suddenly dawned on Kakashi. He had quickly understood Kakuzu's immortality. But before he could react, the Keaton mask on the back opened its mouth and fired a wave of fire at him. Moving over to the left, he pivoted and leapt in the air, but Kakuzu had already turned around and Kakashi's feet planted themselves into his face. Leaping off his face, he backflipped acrobatically and landed gracefully on his feet 3 times on his Sharingan, spinning wildly as it took in his opponent. He has 5 hearts, 1 with each element, so that's why when I pierced him with the Rikiri he was still alive. He had 4 hearts left to go. Kakashi mused to himself. Each heart allows him to use an element, which must be why he was talking about having to take mine as well. He knew already that in battle he'd end up losing at least one, so by taking mine, he would be back to his stock 5. What I bet he didn't figure out was that I'd decipher him so quickly, which I probably wouldn't have had he not clued me in, plus with the 2 years of training in the seal, I've developed quite a bit as well. Kakashi thought. Kakuzu caught Kakashi's piercing Sharingan gaze and laughed. You've deciphered mine already? Now I realize why they call you the genius of Konoha. It doesn't matter, knowing how to defeat me and having the tools necessary to defeat me are 2 different things. Did your Sharingan show you this? Kakuzu asked, before clasping his fingers into the ram's seal. The masks on his back exploded outward, taking a corporeal body of their own. Each mask formed a body that was connected to their location on Kakuzu's back with black strings. This is bad. Kakashi thought. You're doomed, Haddock-san. Not only do these masks have chakra, but they can use that element to their fullest, as well as I. You might think this is bad, but not so bad seeing as they are connected. Not necessarily. Kakuzu explained, releasing the strings to the masks, allowing them to move freely. You know what your problem is, Kakuzu? Kakashi asked. Kakuzu's eyes went wide with surprise. You talk a lot. Kakashi replied, summoning up another fistful of lightning as he streaked past Kakuzu and was ready to pierce the suit and heart. Kakashi felt his right hand go numb on contact, his knuckles cracking and bruising after the blow. What the hell? Kakashi muttered and realized something. The masks had been switched with Kawarimi. Instead of using the very effective lightning against water, it had ended up being swapped with the earth, the element lightning was weak against. Somehow the mask had taken up the properties of stone, and the lightning chakra not only backfired against Kakashi, but he headed up his hand in the process. Falling to his knees, he looked up to see the Kaiten and Futon masks next to each other. Oh. Kakashi whispered. There was a blast of fire followed by a howl.